Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to an intimate evening with the lovely Daniela Swampakawi, author, counsellor, mother, wife, and a whole load of other things. And we are going to hear about that this evening. So I hope you guys are excited.
They're all muted.
I need to see, but at least to see some thumbs, some signals. That means like, yeah, whoa, thanks, Lucia. They're ready to go. They're ready to go. Now, what I need to do, when I sort of say housekeeping, bearing in mind we're not in an official, in a venue, but at the same time, that's why we've actually put everybody on mute. Okay, so it'll only be a case of later on in the evening, and I'll let you know when. Any questions anybody's got. So if you've got notepad, if you've got any questions as we go along, because otherwise if we had the questions as we go through, it'd be stoppy-starty, it would be really kind of judgery. So that's why we're going to save the questions to the end. Okay, this is going to be up close and personal with the young lady. My name is Dee Bailey. For those of you that don't know me, Dee Bailey from Simply Dee's Events. Oh God, what do I do?
Everything.
Daytime job. Daytime job is administration, which is doing what it's got to do. We've all got bills to pay. Outside of that, I am very, very passionate about people, very passionate about the community and organise events. And generally, it's a case of it's face to face, because that's how we used to do things. Am I right? That's how we used to do things in the space of 5 weeks or so. Literally, it's like the world has been turned upside down. It's like the world has been turned upside down. So it means different things to all of us, I'm sure. Okay, to all of us, I'm sure. I don't want to sort of like go into anything firstly without just acknowledging the current situation. Okay, for those of you that might have logged on and it's like, right, okay, there's some woman, she's an author, and I don't really know anything about what's going to be talked about. I have to point out now, and I will do throughout the event, if there's anything at all that you hear that it is going to be sensitive. We are going to be talking about domestic violence, sexual abuse. We're not going to be going into detail, but we are going to be covering that topic. Okay, so if there's anybody that wants to leave at any stage, we won't know, we won't highlight. It's like, oh, somebody's, it's just a case of you leave, that is absolutely fine. Throughout this event, we will be signposting. Okay, so there is a chat box. I don't know if you guys have seen, there is a chat box, and the lovely Shelley, Shelley, can you just wave to the guys, please? And let them know. So Shelley, she is a very key person for tonight. You're obviously going to meet Daniela in just a moment, for those of you that don't know Daniela. But Shelley is very key. She is the producer for this evening. So that means if I'm talking too much, she will mute me. You're thinking, we can see her mouth moving, what's going on? Shelley will actually just mute me. And the same with Daniela also as well. This is obviously coming through to you guys live. I very much do not do anything scripted. So as much as I've met Daniela before, we've spoken before, she's been on my show before, there's quite a few things we haven't touched on. If we go somewhere that she doesn't want to go, she's going to let me know that. So you think like, oh, why did she know that? That's because none of it is scripted. So I might say something, you think, oh, that's a bit... As Daniela knows, it's going to be what it is. So
it is what it is.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So I just want you to welcome everybody, and we are now, we need to welcome the lady, I think. I think it's not a case of she's going to just start speaking. Let's just give her a massive, because this is big. This is really big. And I need to also highlight what was actually going to be happening on this day. This was going to be a physical event in Bedford, where Daniela was going to launch her second book. That's what actually was going to be happening today at this time. And then obviously due to the virus and everything, and, you know, not being able to meet up physically, it was a case of this was going to happen Well, we don't know, do we? We don't know what's happening right now. So it's a case of, well, when is this going to happen? And I said, well, why don't we just move it online? And after a lot of, what's the word, Daniela? What do I want to say?
Persuasion on part of these.
That's
You've got to do
it. That's it. After just a little bit of that, just a little bit of persuasion, it was a case of, right, okay, let's go online. Let's go online. And I'm sure, Daniela, as we go through the evening, we're going to be talking about so many different things. So many different things. So let's all, if we can just welcome the young lady in question, give her a massive, because this is big, give her a really great big round of applause, guys. Unmute them, Shell, unmute them.
Thank you.
It's like chips in a fryer. Everybody's just giving you a massive round of applause. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. So let me see first of all if I can get that name right. Daniela Svampa.
Perfect. Perfect. There you go. You've got it spot on.
Can you guys say that? It's not easy, you know, when you ain't got your teeth. When you ain't got your teeth in properly. Daniela Svampakowi. Come on, guys, you say it. Daniela Svampakowi. Yeah, I see you lot struggling. You're struggling too. They're struggling. I see them. I can lip read. I see them struggling. I see them struggling. Daniela, that is a lot. That is a lot. Now, for me this evening, yes, we know that you're an author. Most people know that you're an author, but it's a case of finding out who are you. Okay, so by that I mean, well, you know that I want to peel back.
Yes.
And when I say peel back, I mean
going through it with a comb.
Yeah, I do mean peel back. Now, the lovely Stuart, some of you guys can see, hi Stuart, this is hubby Stuart. So I'll try and tread carefully-ish, Stuart, but you're where you are and I'm where I am. The worst that can happen is I get cut off. That's the worst that can happen, and that would be Shelley that would do that. So, Daniela, how are you, darling?
I'm good, I'm good. Little bit nervous. Totally touched by the amount of people that have actually come on and joined us. Very grateful. But yeah, a little bit nervous, but excited at the same time.
There's no reason to be nervous, no reason at all. We've spoken before. It's not going to be anything. Well, it is actually. Actually, I should say that. It is. Okay, so with a name like that, you were born in Manchester.
Yeah, thereabout. Just a few miles off. Right, yeah.
So where were you born?
Italy. I am originally from Italy, and I came to England at the age of barely 19. I think it was only like a month after I turned 19. With no English whatsoever. No, actually, I'm lying. I could say hello and goodbye. So that's a start. I knew a lot of French, but no English. And yeah, I just came to this country and my journey.
No.
You
know that the crowd today is going to go.
Yes.
I'm asking, the first thing I've asked you is like, where do you mean, like where you're from? We say Italy. That's wonderful, wonderful. But then we jump to you're in the UK and you're 19. We can't be doing that. This is up close and personal.
Right. Okay, let's start from the beginning then, okay? I was born in Italy.
Yes.
I am the daughter of farmers.
Okay.
So I was raised in a farm in Italy, in the middle of nowhere. I spent quite a few years in a convent school. Where no, back again.
We're going to rewind. Because there's gaps. So you were born in Italy.
Yes.
Your parents were farmers.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Okay, I get that. So you are one of how many?
2. I have an older sister.
You've got an older sister.
Yes.
Okay, how much older?
5 years.
Okay, she's
5 years older than me.
She's 5 years older than you. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're born, and then in terms of life for you, so life on a farm. I don't suppose that's the same as
life in a farm. Life in a farm was great. Obviously, lots of animals, you know, it's nice for that sense, lots of green, lots of space. But for me, my life, my childhood, because of my family setting, was a bit of a struggle. Because what was happening there, what I come to understand as now, domestic violence was taking place even there, under the form of abuse and
you're
sometimes
talking about in your home?
Pardon?
You're talking about in your home?
Yes. My family of origin's home. So there was already then domestic violence in there. Obviously, at the time I was a child, I never heard of the term domestic violence, but there was a lot of verbal abuse, mental abuse, and at times physical abuse.
So was this directed?
My mum. Well, it was between my mum and my dad. So yeah, generally my dad, the abuse was flying both sides and down to me and my sister, but the physical was between my parents. So that's how it started.
So how old were you? Do you recall this? How old would you say you were when you?
You know, I had my first bout of depression at the age of 6. So that was already going on prior. I started suffering from depression and eating disorders at the age of 6. So how long before then I became conscious of what was going on? I'm not aware. I just know that I was very sensitive and I wasn't happy. I cried a lot because obviously I wanted everybody to be happy. I wanted everybody to get on well together, and that was not happening. No matter how much I tried. And I was only little, so there was only so much I could do. I wasn't a counselor yet.
Yeah. I'm hearing what you're saying. Okay, I cannot imagine. So I'm not going to say, oh, I understand what you're saying, because I don't. And you know, we've got so many people sort of like online and that, like listening. So really, it is a case because we're being up close, and yet we are being personal. So I need you to kind of like share with us, if you don't mind, sort of like what sort of things are we talking about? It could be things that we kind of like think nothing of, but obviously that's.
I had, what kind of thing we're talking about? I mean, what was going on between mum and dad, as I said, there was a lot of verbal abuse, emotional abuse, and the odd slap that would fly from my dad to my mum. From my perspective, because of the threats me and my sister were receiving, my sister was so much more light-hearted than me, so she was quite happy to get out of the way and go do her own things, while I took everything I needed to fix. So I actually internalized everything. So I stopped eating. I would refuse to eat. I would cry all the time. I was having horrendous thoughts of all sorts, because already from the age of 6, my father, for example, I could hear messages already, because my sister was 5 years older than me. My dad saying to my mom, if your daughters get pregnant before they get married, I'll kill you both, you know, you and them. So already.
Sorry, he'd kill who? He'd kill
my
you,
mom
whoever's
and
pregnant.
either of us who got pregnant before we got married. But this, I was 6 to hear these kind of messages, right? So I was, you know, already with the threats, always of death, always of what people's gonna say, always of being in trouble. You know, I started worrying about everything that I was doing. And even if going to school, obviously there are boys in school. And for me, already there was a threat, because of my father's words, to just even have a friendship with boys. And automatically, for me, it was just a mental breakdown. So stop eating, started worrying, did I do wrong about being friends with boys and all of those things. So I started suffering from depression and stopped eating at the age of 6. Proper breakdown. That was my first one. Obviously, that carried on throughout life, which we'll go through it with a calm, like we want. But yeah, that was the first that I recall. I mean, my grandmother passed away as well then. So there was another part that added to it all. And I think when my grandma passed away, I think I was 4 or 5 years old, something like that.
So all of that is going to be traumatic anyway.
Yeah.
But who are you sharing this information with? Are you just keeping it to yourself? Who are you?
Well,
You're not sharing it with anybody at school, your teacher, or
No, nobody. It wasn't like now that you could actually talk to people, or you knew that you could talk to people. So everything was in my head. And only when it built up really badly, then eventually I would say something, but I would go straight to source, to the person that I was petrified, which was my father. And actually, I did show my strengths already there, because my father was the one person that I was most scared of anything. And yet, every time I couldn't bottle things up anymore and I felt I'd done wrong, I'd go almost and confess to him, and actually go to him, to the source of, to the hierarchy, and tell him and wait for judgment, if you will. But yeah, so no, I kept everything for myself.
So I'm trying to sort of like picture and imagine. Guys, remember, you're going to get the opportunity to ask Daniela questions kind of sort of like towards later on. Otherwise, we'd be stopping and breaking, as I sort of said throughout. So I'm trying to picture and imagine this, which for somebody so young, I can't, I really can't imagine. I really can't imagine. And I think the fact that we are doing this now with the current situation that we currently have, I think it was so right that we do it. With the current lockdown, we have a situation where children aren't going to school. Most of them, they're not going to school, so they are at home. For some of them, it's like happy days, because obviously you're not having to go to school. I'm sure for some, school was their sanctuary. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Actually going to school rather than being at home. But for what you sort of like said, for you to then be turning to your dad, and your dad was the one who was violent. Your dad was the one who
in the house.
So I'm trying to fathom out why you would go to him. I think he'd be the last person you would go to.
Yeah, you would think that, and I suppose it's because when you're actually in that situation, feeling that low, feeling that bad about yourself, because you learn to feel bad, that you are bad, everything about you is bad, and you gotta get it right. I suppose the guilt is so much, you go and confess it to him, to see if, I don't know, but I would go to him, because that was the measure. Is it okay? Okay, that's happened. Give me your punishment, I suppose, and that be it. But actually, as it happens, because the breakdown at 6 was so severe, that my dad broke down. Eventually, he broke down because he saw me wasting away, because I just wouldn't eat anymore, and that was it. And that was, I think, possibly the only time I've ever seen my father cry, except for crying over a dog that passed away. For human being, I think that was the only time I see my father cry. And that's because that was it. I just was not going to eat. So I just was in pieces.
So what about your mum? Was she kind of...
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, was your mum sort of like in the background kind of thing, or was she strong?
My mum, you see, my mum is actually a very strong woman, but she kind of stayed in the background when it came down to actually, my dad would actually take front seat, she would actually step back. So she just stood back and let it happen, really. I don't remember her actually ever intervene when I was in that state or any other state. She was like, basically, get on with it.
So were you attending school at this time? Were you off school?
I started school because in Italy we started school at 6 at the time. So I just literally started school. So I did the first 2 years there, so like from home, you know, my parents' home and going to school. And then eventually I was sent. And my father was an atheist. Let me actually put that there. My father was an atheist. But because there were other people in the town that they sent the children to a convent school, he decided to send us, me and my sister, she first, and then 3 years later, off I went to a boarding school of nuns, Catholic nuns. So there was nobody to talk to. That was it. Because if my father was hard to speak to, they were even worse.
So hang on. So all of this is going on. So really, I mean, we know it now. It's sort of like you're having some sort of breakdown, and this is obviously also traumatic, you know, sort of like for you. And then, what was the decision to send you to a boarding school? Why?
Well, my sister had already gone, but she was quite happy because if she could get out of the house, she was very happy to do so. For me, they sent me there because in their eyes, I was too attached to the family. I was too close to the family. I didn't want to go anywhere. I wanted to be at home. I wanted the family together. In fact, I didn't even want my sister to go anywhere. So for them, it's like, no, this child is too attached. She needs to go. So off I went to the convent school at the age of 8 for 6 years. And I would see my family 4 times a year. So it would be the summer holiday, 2 days in November, Christmas holiday, which was about 10 days or so, and the Easter holiday, which was another week. And they would come and see me once a month for 2 hours while I was up there. So eventually my family, I didn't really know my family. I became quite detached from them. And every time I went back, I was actually trying to fix them, as I knew at the time, to try and keep them happy and calm. Hence why I'm such a pacifist now. UN ambassador, that's me.
We've only just we're just scratching some of the surface of what's. Do you know what, we had a format for this evening, and I've actually shared that format with everybody, and I'm sure the producer and Daniela are going to say, I don't think this, Dee Bailey. But right now, from what we've heard, we've just only heard a little bit, because we are going to, and I know people, there's still probably about 15 or so people, for whatever reason, they're going to probably be coming on throughout the evening. Is there anything sort of like at this moment, because of where we're at, that somebody kind of burning wants to just ask Daniela? Is there anybody at all? If there is, if you could raise, when I say raise your hand, you are literally, and what Shelley will do.
Oh, that's Martin.
Shelley, can you just open that?
Yeah, just opened on me, not get Martine up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay, Martin.
Hi, I just wanted to say, did you resent your parents for sending you to that boarding school, or do you think it was actually you made something positive out of it?
That's a really good question, actually, because while I was there, for the first year, I did cry a lot, and I got a lot of telling off from the nuns for it. I did resent my parents while I was there, especially my dad, because I knew it was mainly his decision, and I did resent him because I didn't want to be there. I wanted to be with the family. Everything that I reported about my unhappiness, it was not taken into consideration at all. It's only on my last year, and I remember this, on the last year of school, and I was 14, and my dad said at the beginning of the year, he said, you know, it's like, you don't have to go back if you don't want to. You can actually stay there, you know, just come to school close to our town. And I said, no. And I did it out of spite. And I said, no, I am going, and that's what I want to be. So I'm thinking, now I'm getting the one up, you know. With hindsight, as an adult, I actually can see there is no resentment at all. I can actually see how much I took from it, the friendship I made, the insight I had, the strength that has come from that experience, and how we balance out the two worlds between the extreme religion that the nuns were putting on me and the total atheism of my father. So I could actually come and find the balance with that as well. So, and plus it served me on my part as well, because that has served me for being, from detaching from my family. I'm a strong believer that everything in life is for a purpose. Everything is for a purpose. And the fact that I wasn't there served me to detach from my family, which I was very attached to. I never settled in the convent school, so there was no fear of attachment there. Yeah. So it was, that helped me to actually, for me to follow my path, because I was meant to be here. I was meant to be where I am. And if I was that attached, like I was to my family, I would never have left, and I would not have followed my purpose, what I am here to do. So I am grateful to my parents for that. Yeah, thank you, Martine.
So Veronica's asked, did you have any friends at boarding school?
I did, but I had some really lovely friends at boarding school. But you know what? Even some of those friendships, the really strong ones, we had to keep it hidden, because we were not allowed to have best friends. If you spend more than 2 days with the same girl, you would be in trouble. You would be separated.
Why?
You know, because listen, the messages I was getting there, and at the time I could not understand why, but for them it was unhealthy that you spend too much time with another girl. I mean, there were some really strange things. It's like you had to go to bed sleeping with your hand under your face, so not to touch your body. You had to have the shower with your knickers on, so that you didn't have to look at your body, and you couldn't have best friends. So go figure. There was the rules of the house. And that's what, so I've made some really good friendship, people that I'm still friends with now, but there you couldn't spend so much time together because you would be separated.
Wow, that's really interesting. And just as much as we hear about nunneries and all of that, it's like, right, we've got an idea of certain things, but just a couple of things you've just said.
Yeah.
So,
And at the time, as a child, you can't comprehend what could be.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to a child. It doesn't make sense to me much now, but there you go. You know, as a child, even less so.
You just had to follow what, you know, obviously.
You had to follow the rules. The rules were very strict. Honestly, I remember even when you had dinner time, you know, you had to sit like a lady, right? So the elbows cannot be on the table, because the nun will come around with a needle. If your elbow was on the table, you will get the needle, right? So yeah, it's not allowed, not allowed.
I was just going to ask what the punishment, what types of punishment would they give if you didn't follow the rules?
The punishment was they would make sure you were separated from everybody else, and all the other girls would have to turn on you, not to speak to you, sometimes for a couple of weeks. Confession, corner, so shamed basically in front of everybody. If you were talking, because they were like some of us a little bit rebels, and I've always have been a rebel. You know, if you are chit-chatting once you're all set to bed, and so you say your prayers, and then, you know, afterwards you start your chit-chatting. Of course, the nun would pace the corridor, and if they heard you, then everybody out of bed, the there was 6 bedrooms in each room. So the whole room, out of bed, into the corridor to be made an example out of everybody, praying out loud in the corridor, in the cold, barefooted and all of that. So those kind of things. And me being the daughter of a communist, I was always in confession. I was always sent to confession. And plus I was one that I always stood up for everybody. If I felt somebody was victimized, and even if I got it in the neck, and I knew I was going to get it in the neck, there was no doubts about it, I would be the one that would just go there and say, no, 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 that's not right. No, you can't speak to her like that. No, you can't do this. And of course, then everything will come on me. But I couldn't help myself, because for me, everybody else needed protecting already from that age. And my sister, we only spent a year together there. I was 8, she was 14. She kept telling me to leave it alone, shut up, mind your own business, don't interfere. And I was like, but these people, these children are getting hurt. You know, they're getting upset, and I couldn't bear it. So I was the one always in compassion and getting told off.
Wow. And was this past your parents? I mean, did they know that you were going through certain things there? Or?
Yeah. My parents knew. There was one occasion that was awful, actually. I was accused of, there was some break-ins in the convent school. So somebody, every Sunday night, we used to buy sweets. There was a little shop that the nuns would run where, you know, your parents would give you some money, and every Sunday night you would buy your sweets. Obviously, it had to be limited, they would monitor it. So buy the sweets, but then there was somebody, they would break into people's locker rooms kind of thing and steal the sweets. Now, one Sunday morning, that did happen. Somebody found the locker broken and somebody's sweets got stolen. Now, we were told as good Catholics, right, that you are not allowed to eat or drink anything an hour before taking communion. So, me, rush, forgetting what the time is, you know, had my coffee, and it wasn't an hour before communion. But now I knew I had the dilemma in my hand, because I knew the streets had been stolen. It was between me and God or between me and the nuns, right? So you see, this is the dilemmas I was getting, right? If I went to a communion and the hour had not gone by, God would be cross with me, because that's what they told me would happen. If I didn't go and take communion and respect God, I knew they would be thinking, she stole the sweets, and I would be getting in the neck. So I didn't go for communion. And there was one really not very nice nun there. And oh my God, she go to town on me. And honestly, I was crucified from it. Even told my parents, which they didn't believe me. They were trying to convince me that I must have sleepwalked. So they were putting all these things in my head, and they stopped the girls, everybody there, to speak to me for like 3 weeks. So everybody turned against me, and eventually Udidi came up. You know, it turned out, because it kept happening in the quarter, but I had to pay that price, and I was proof. Honestly, that was awful. It wasn't nice. And my parents took that, my dad took her side. So yeah. So that was where I spent 8 to 14. And then, in fact, another thing was my sister got engaged while I was in there my last year, and the nuns took care of me because my sister was too young, and men were evil, and therefore, you know, I come yet again, not only from a communist father, from a sister that's getting married far too young. So yeah, it's I was ready to get you all the time, basically.
I don't know about anybody else. I'm watching you.
Yeah.
You know, I know I've spoken to you and everything, and you are just you're relaying this, and you're smiling, you're laughing,
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong. I'm just being me, guys. All of you guys that are out there that are watching and everything, and just trying to digest what you're saying and the magnitude at that age.
Yeah, I wasn't very happy at that time, I have to say. I was, and depression went through, underline, throughout those years, always putting up a smile, always, nobody really, except for the odd occasions that I got caught out, but otherwise nobody actually ever knew what I was going through emotionally. It was actually interesting because, when was it, 4 years ago, I went back to Italy. One of the times I went back to Italy, and we had the reunion from the girls from the convent school. And one of the girls that turned up there, which I hadn't seen since then, so we're talking
Quite a while.
35 years ago, 35 years ago, even more. And she actually came up. She wasn't going to come, but she came up because she knew I was there. And apparently, I was the one that actually kept her going throughout. But at the time, I didn't know that. But apparently, that's the role that I have played for those girls throughout. And through that reunion, I also realized actually, that I was one of the girls that been there the longest, for 6 years, while the other ones, I was there 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I was there for 6 years. So I was the longest running of the people that actually were there to the reunion. So yeah, but apparently, people were very grateful, and I didn't even realize until then, until this reunion took place, the impact I had on them. Because for me, I was just trying to survive like everybody else in there. And I knew I was standing up for people, but I never realized they even appreciate it or recognized it, or that it even made a change at all, but apparently it did. So I was very grateful. That was really nice.
Times we do things and we don't know who
The
we are
change we
touching
made.
by what we are actually doing. I'm just trying to think, as a parent, why would you be in there 6 years and others were in there 2, 3 years? Did you feel unloved? I can imagine, because the fact that you're not at home with your family.
I did, I didn't feel very wanted, I have to say. At the time, I thought that everybody was in the same boat. All families were like that. I didn't know any different.
Yeah.
Until in the convent school, there were some families that, you could see that when they came up to see their children, the hugs, the kisses, the intensity of their encounter. While when my parents came, they were coming much less than the others. And when they did come, I was given very little time. They would be more interested in speaking to the other girls, and so for me, that's when I started to notice, okay, perhaps this is not quite, as close as one family can be. But again, it didn't make any difference. I needed to keep the family together, be nice, bring the laughter, do all those things that you think everybody else does. And I just did it. I just kept going day by day and focus on making other people's life better, because I didn't feel I could change mine. I had no idea until now, or well, over the latest years, kind of thing, that we own our own life. Then I didn't have a clue. I was just daydreaming my escape every time. So yeah.
Escape from where? Escape from the nunnery, or escape from home? Escape from
that life. Yeah, from both, from the life, because I felt I did not fit anywhere. I really, really felt alone. I had a best friend. I did have a best friend, so, which, obviously our time came apart for a long time while I was in the convent school. But, my times with her were exceptional. Unfortunately, she's passed away. But for me, my life was her. Spending my time with her, that's when I was okay. Beside that, everything was just like another chore, another thing to do, another struggle, more bad thoughts, more depression, because then, again, the age of 15, and I had another really bad bout of depression. Again, coming away from the convent school, going into the professional school of catering, which was the next step for me. I chose it because that was my way out of the country. becoming a waitress and going abroad. That was my way out from where I was. Everybody wanted me, all the teachers wanted me to go to university because I had all A grades in every subject. And everybody says university, university, and I thought, nah, I need out of here. I'm going to the first job that's going to get me out of here. Again, I didn't know it would for real, but as it happened, you see, what you dream about, you manifest if you keep dreaming it often enough.
Wow. Have we got sort of like at this point here, has anybody got any questions from what Danielle has said so far? Purely because...
Rita, I can see Rita.
Yeah.
I've just unmuted Rita.
Yes.
I can relate to you with the nunnery. Now, don't laugh, because
we're
when
not.
I was 16,
We don't believe you.
when I was 16 and I lived in Ireland, I went to a nunnery school and I was going to become a nun. But this nunnery was like where you looked after orphan children,
Oh,
and you was not allowed to get attached to any of the kids or anything. They were very young children, but you was not allowed to even cuddle them or things like it. It was very regimental.
yeah.
And after, like, I'd say 6 months, I just thought, I can't do this, because when these kids were drawing me pictures and things like that, and you had to hide them,
Yeah.
but no, well, I know everyone's laughing, thinking that me going to become a nun, but you know,
Not everybody knows who you
No.
are, Rita. So...
no, but I just
This is a
think,
lady that swears a lot.
I do not. I suffer with Tourette's. Now, come on, that's a disability.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, but I just love listening to you at the moment, and
Bless you.
if I jump on and off, it's because I'm sorting my daughter's dinner out because she doesn't know how to cook.
That's okay.
Please carry on like you
Oh.
are, because you're just such an inspiration to everybody, and I just love listening to you.
Thank you
Right.
so much. Thank
So I'm
you.
being very professional tonight.
Thank you.
Right. That's all I wanted to say. See you.
Oh, thank you, Rita.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. I think...
Sandra's got
Oh, where's Sandra? Oh,
she's got a question.
hi, Sandra. Oh, she's muted still. There we go.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Yes.
I have got a few questions, but I'll wait until you move further on to ask a couple of them. But the main one I wanted to ask, what's your relationship like with your parents?
Now,
Yeah.
my father's passed away.
Oh, okay.
My father's passed away quite a few years ago now. He never got to tell me nice things himself as such, but I heard from other people that he said nice things about me.
Okay.
So I never heard my father say, I love you. My mother, our relationship is better now. I think it was only a couple of years ago she told me I love you for the first time, and I almost fell off my chair. I can tell you the shock, I could not believe it, you know. But yeah, no, my relationship with my mom is much better now. She's still her abrupt self, but that's who she is, and but she's much more loving. So
Okay.
now that we get on really well, now that we are miles away. She's in Italy and I am here. We get on so well.
Oh, that's good. Does she know how you felt during those years growing up? Have you ever had the conversation?
You know, every time, because I've had conversation actually for what happened even over here about me coming to this country. One of my friends, my best friend at the time, actually lost it with my parents because she wanted me to be there, and she was so hurt when I came away. And she said, you know, that I was away because they sent me to the convent school. And every time my mum got faced for anything that I did, or that it was in any way that it could have made me feel unloved, my mum would blame me on my father. So she never took responsibility. Or she says, that's how it was then. And that's the end of it. That's how she closes it. Well, your father, and that's how it was then. So she never take a responsibility.
And she just doesn't acknowledge her part.
Her part on it. No, she doesn't. She never is.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Sandra. Dee,
Yes.
could I actually say something?
It's your...
It's my...
Yeah, of course you can.
I actually wanted to say this, and I know we're jumping off here a bit because we're going to
we can do what we want.
my life.
Yeah.
We'll go back to that bit, but I just wanted to say how grateful, actually when I come here, it's from gratitude, a bit of a bombshell, but how grateful I feel to be here tonight and for the people that are here tonight. And just to tell you all as well, to understand that I am the example of how that there is always hope. Life changes. It will always change. There is always another day. You know, 25 years ago, tonight, right now, I was fighting for my life. I was being attacked at this very time. And I am now here with you amazing people, listening to me. I don't know why, but, you know, that's how much life changed. So don't ever give up. Don't ever give up. Because look, if I had given up then, this would not be happening. I wouldn't meet you amazing people. And yet here I am. I just wanted to say that. Sorry, I know it's a bit of a bombshell, but I'm really, really that grateful. And I just really wanted to say to everybody, life does change. Even when times seems to be really harsh, look what can happen. Who would have said? I wouldn't have said it 25 years ago. I was struggling to breathe then. I'm done.
So now that you're done, you now winded everybody.
I'm just being really grateful.
I made sure I brought me tissues, everyone. I weren't going to get. She wasn't going to catch me out tonight. She wasn't going to catch me. She wasn't going to catch me out tonight. So we're going to talk sort of like more. So going back, we're now kind of like you're kind of finishing at the convent, I take it, at the age of what?
There. I went to the professional school of catering to get my techniques. Oh.
So you finished at what age did you finish at the convent? How old were you?
14. That's when the school in Italy finishes, the obligatory school at the time.
Really?
Finished at 14.
Wow.
And then you had 5 years really that you can go into, which is higher education, like it would be college here kind of thing, but you do 5 years instead of here doing 2. Yeah. Because here you do 3 years of upper school extra than Italy. So you actually do 5 in Italy of further education kind of thing before you can go to university. So I finished at 14. And then I didn't go, as I said, to the upper school version of college because I did the 2 years version. I think I lost you there. Where are you in the pictures? Oh, there you are. You moved over there. I did the 2 years there so I could get my qualification and hopefully start working in bars and restaurants to go.
So this is in Italy? Yeah.
So at the age of 15, I went there to a school nearby, but still it was a boarding school. The only difference was that while at the non-school everybody was girls, the actual lessons, there were boys as well that were coming from outside, but the living with was just girls. But when I went to the professional school of catering, the majorities were boys. and there was only 20 girls to 120 boys, something like that. So it was massive difference. Now I'm living with boys, you know, spending time with boys, eating with them, and you know, having them in the same hotel where we would all stay to learn these practices, which
So
it was
So how, I'm just thinking, with all what you've said, obviously you've been at the convent and all the, you know, if you're showering with the knickers on, just, and I suppose learning about your body. Now you are now in the midst of boys. How did you cope? How did you,
I didn't cope very well. I was hitting everybody.
Bearing in mind, guys, her husband is online. Bearing in mind, her husband is online.
No, it's okay. He knows me. I was hitting everybody. If anybody said to me, "Hi, Daniela," and they put a hand on my shoulder, I would hit them. Honest to God. With one boy that I think he said he liked me, we were rolling outside the bar because I was trying to beat the hell out of him. It's just, I was mental because I didn't know what to do with boys. As far as I was concerned, I was told they weren't to be trusted.
Yeah.
So they weren't to be trusted. Anybody touched me, even on the shoulder, would get slapped. And, you know, so yeah, that was me. It took me the whole first year. By the end of the first year, everybody kept their distance. Second years, then people started getting closer. I started relaxing around boys, and I think that's where I got my first boyfriend.
How old?
16, 17. 16, 17. Again, the first relationship I built, and it wasn't a very nice one because, again, it was quite abusive and very controlling. So that I was already starting to mimic the relationship between my mom and dad already in the first relationship. So that went on.
You recognize that straight away?
No, I didn't. I don't that now as a counselor. At the time, I you know, that's me actually, because I always went for people, or I was always so addicted to fixing people because it was a trait that I did from a very young age.
Yeah.
So this boy, the teachers didn't like him. People weren't being very nice to him. So I saw, and he had taken a shine to me. And I thought, well, you know, there you go, bless him, poor thing. You know, I need to be with him because nobody else would. You know, but there was a reason why the teachers didn't like him. There was a reason why certain behavior, and yet I felt the need to rescue him. I was the rescuer through and through, throughout my life, which got me to relationships that weren't healthy. So that was the first thing. Then I went on to
Can I just stop you just 1 second?
Yeah.
Throughout sort of like this evening, we are going to be, and obviously you can see the nature of the topic that we're talking about sexual abuse, domestic violence. You know the situation we are currently in at the moment now with the lockdown, and there are people, the stats now are very high in terms of reports of domestic abuse, domestic violence. There's been quite a high number of deaths also as well. I think we've all been sort of like, when I say we all, but people are aware of. So I know Shelley is going to be sort of like posting, we're going to be posting in the chat, okay, and also mentioning that in terms of if you are in a situation or know somebody in a situation, there is the domestic violence helpline number, okay, which we ask you to sort of like take down, share that information, and if you need any help or support, that's what you need to do. We're not actually here, as in when I say we, Daniela is a counsellor and we will be sharing her details, and I'm sure if anybody wants to contact you sort of like afterwards, you're quite...
Absolutely. Available always.
Available. for that. So it's not a case of we're here and we're just going to chat and there's no signposting, because I don't know who's online. I don't know who might be listening. You know, there is help and support. Okay, guys, there is help and support. If anybody feels that they need to, we've not, you know, obviously we're getting into Daniela's life and what's gone on throughout her life. And if there's anybody that feels that they need to come off at any stage, as I said previously before, please feel free to do so. That's fine, not a problem. So going back to you, my dear.
Right. So with that, it was the kind of the relationship again started toward the end of the last year in the catering school, and the relationship, it was quite controlling and a bit physical, hand-wise kind of thing, to the point that I would get a slap or grab by the throat. And when I told my father that I was breaking up, because in Italy there was that thing as well. I don't know if you know about the Italian cultures of the way it used to be. If you started dating, and that was through my father's way and very strict regime, if you pick somebody that you actually say, yes, you're dating with somebody, you're marrying that person. Dating is not a trial and error thing. If you start going out with that person, you're marrying them. So when I decided, me again, being the black sheep, I've been seen that way anyway, I thought, nah, it just hit me. I am marrying this person. There is no way, right? So I told my father I was going to call the relationship off, because it's physical, you know, he's like me, he grabbed me by my throat. And my father's response was, so that means you deserved it. I still finished it. I still dared and called the relationship off. And they've accepted it. Eventually, there was nothing they could do to make me carry on with it. Then eventually, when I started working in the nightclub, and so earning money, which again would go to the family home. And my dad, every time the check came, my dad would take, because in his mind is, you know, if you earn and you at your own place, or your money will be paid in bills and rent, so give it here. So, and so I had to ask, even to buy clothes, some money, which you will get like a tenner. Okay, go and see how much you can get for a tenner.
So hang on. So you earn the money, then give the money, and then ask for the money to go and get stuff.
Yeah, and then he would decide whether I needed it or not. And of course, everybody was so nicely dressed, you know, the nightclub and things like that. And before we actually started getting a uniform, there's me with this, you know, really not very nice clothes and everything, because I didn't have the money to go get it, although I was earning. But there was that. And then eventually, the same boyfriend I had been with, again, that's the manipulation. He came to the nightclub and he said that he was coming to England. He knew that was my dream to come away, to go to England. And would I go as friends? He would promise, absolutely, strictly as friends, would I come to England, because he knew. So I said, oh my God, a way out, I can get away. So I said, right, okay, yes. I said, as long as just friends, yeah. So I went to my father and I said, you know, I've got the opportunity, getting paid soon. If I can keep that check, can go to England, because my dad loved languages. He absolutely loved languages. And so he wanted one of our daughters to actually learn language. And my sister did 1 year and she gave them up. She didn't want to study it. And I thought, yeah, my opportunity to get out. And my father straight away said, whether he meant it or not at the time, I don't know. But he said, yeah, go. Because I said, I'm going to go to England 1 year, learn English. Then I'm going to go to France for a year and get my French better. And then I'm going to go to Germany and then I'll come back. Yeah. My father immediately said, yeah, great. My mother just laughed me off.
Was your mum okay with that?
She didn't believe it. And I said to my dad, are you sure? Because I'm going to buy the ticket tomorrow. And he said, yeah. Whether he believed you or not, I don't know. But the day after, I had the ticket. My mom was mental. She went mental on my dad. My dad said, yeah, no, let her go. And I think it was like 3 months later or whatever. It was March the 28th or something. I actually got to come to England. I had no place to stay. I couldn't speak the language. I did have an address, but I didn't know if they actually had a room available. And so me and this guy came over, and I managed to find a room to stay. Went to English school, worked in Italian restaurants like as a cashier, so I could only speak to the Italian waiters. Yeah, because I couldn't speak English. And so I was earning and paying for the school. That's really bright. Thank you. So yeah, I did it that way. But the catch was eventually that when I got here, the ex-boyfriend.
So hang on, was he the boyfriend at the time or not the boyfriend?
No, he
You were
was
just
the
going as
boyfriend.
friends.
I came over as friends because he promised me he wasn't going to harass me. He was going to be friends. And I was so naive. Of course, it was not going to be friends. And so we all started again, the abuse. So one occasion I had my head, my neck pinned against the Woolwich Building Society near Victoria Station. A police officer, thank God, was coming about, and she helped me out. Although I didn't tell her what was going on. I was too afraid. And he was answering on my behalf. When she was saying, are you okay? Are you okay? Everything is fine. I was going, yeah, everything is fine. Well, he was saying everything is fine. And she was asking me, and so I had to agree.
So how old were you at this point?
I was 19. Another time he wouldn't let me out of my room. He had come into my room, he wouldn't let me out of my room, and he dislocated my wrist. It was constant. If we were on a bus, like loads of friends going somewhere, and I was sitting by myself, if a guy would come and sit next to me because he was sitting with some girls or the rest of the friends, he would ask the person to move. And we went together. He would ask that person to move so he could come next to me because I was not to be near anybody. So there was that, until eventually I did get myself a boyfriend. And
whoa, back up.
Yeah.
You're living with this, or not living in the.
We were living in the same building. We were
Okay.
living in the same building. It was pretty much all Italian living there, different rooms. But through work, one of my customers through work, because at this point I was working in a sandwich bar, I met this guy from Birmingham that was actually working in London. And, so we met and everything, and we started dating. So that's where this guy, eventually locked me into my room and everything. My ex-boyfriend locked me into my room, dislocating my wrist and things like that. Threats, I'm going to tell your parents because he's black and they'll crucify you, and all of those things. And so I had a lot of fear because he was also threatening me with my father, right? So now I've got two males to be afraid of. But I persevered.
Take a breather.
Take a breather.
Take a breather. Do you you're kind of, because obviously it's your story, it's your journey, it's your truth, and maybe I'm the only one, because I'm like going like, the whole thing is just kind of just blowing my mind. Is there anybody that can help me out and ask Daniela a question? Because I'm digesting what you're saying, and it's like, it's massive. Has anybody got a question at all? No?
Nothing, it's just you.
That's fine. So now you're living, not living as such, but with this, he's in the same apartment, so to speak. And then the new boyfriend now is black.
Yeah.
So way back, however many years ago, that would have been an issue.
Yes. There was an issue. It was an issue for people. It wasn't an issue for me because I don't see an issue.
Yeah.
And nor did he, obviously.
Yeah.
But my parents would see an issue, not because of racism, it's because of the ignorance upon it. Because my parents, is like, even growing up, before coming to England, I had only seen in my entire life 3 black people.
In Italy?
In Italy. I had only seen 3 black people in my entire life up to that point, until I came to England. So you can imagine my parents had seen the same amount. So my mom, maybe, my father was fine. But my mom mainly, you know, had an issue with it. And plus for my mom, you had to be good looking. And for her, a definition of good looking had so many things. Even I wasn't good looking enough or whatever, right? So there has to be certain definition. And even the boyfriend that was in, I had, it was prior to this one, wasn't good enough because she'd already liked herself another boy that was good looking. And I was supposed to be with, according to her. So somebody that was black in her mind was just like, what? You know, that's totally different. Doesn't even come into the radar. You don't do that because she didn't know. So he was threatening me with, I'll tell them that you're dating a black boy kind of thing. But eventually he saw that my mind was not changed. He couldn't lock me anywhere anymore. And I just went ahead with it until he actually left the country, as far as I thought he was going to Mexico.
So did the boyfriend know how this guy was treating you?
Yeah. So if he didn't see me turn up at one of our meetings, he would come to the building where I was staying and ring the doorbell for the landlord kind of thing. So yeah, he was aware, but I always asked, because again, me, Martha, I had to do everything by myself. You know, I didn't want anybody to be involved, just in case somebody would get hurt, and I would not allow anybody to get hurt on my behalf. If I got hurt, it didn't matter in my eyes. I didn't love me anyway.
Okay, that's key.
Yeah, I didn't love me anyway.
From what you've said and how you've spoken about certain things, and that is something that's come across to me that at that time.
Yeah, that's another thing that I kind of overlooked there, because growing up in my teen years, I was, you know, totally, I hated me with a passion. I would pull my hair out, I would scream abuse on myself in the mirror, I would call myself all sorts, I would slap myself, pinch myself, I would do all sorts to me. And honestly, scream at myself in the mirror, the most outrageous things you could think of. I hated me with a passion. So if I got hurt, it didn't really matter. As long as somebody else would not get hurt, then I would step in there. Nobody else were to get hurt, ever. I don't care how much harm they did, nobody else were to get hurt. So that's where I was coming from, you see, which put me straight away. Oh, Martin's got her hand up.
I wanted to ask, do you think that your upbringing made you confuse interest and love, and that you kind of got, and that's not judgment, that's really a question. Did you get mixed up with, you know, people around you that were paying attention, whether that was negative or positive, but you took it as an interest, and did you kind of
confuse the two? Yeah.
The wrong way. I'm not sure I'm clear, but
no, I think you're actually spot on. There was a lot of confusion because I didn't know what a healthy relationship was. So any kind of attention, anything that would come my way, and especially if that person in my eyes needed help or needed fixing, whatever fixing meant in my head, I'd be there. You know, so yeah, I was very confused what a healthy relationship was, because I never had an example of a healthy relationship. I never witnessed one in my life. So every relationship I've seen, even through other people in the relative households kind of thing, there were always some, and they were on the best behavior, obviously, when relatives get together, and there was still always some sort of filthy looks or control or something. So I didn't know what a healthy relationship was. So although I knew what I didn't like getting the slaps. So that would make me actually, you know, say, okay, I don't like this and don't want this, there is no way. But even that, I did put up with it for a little while, because that's what I knew, and I still did try to fix it. So yeah.
Wow. How old are you at this point?
I was, when I met Michael, was 20, 21, 22, about 20. About 20. I've been in England about a year when I met him. So yeah, so about that.
You've gone through so much, and you're only at the age of 20.
Yeah. And I worry about my children going to university and leaving me, and there's me coming to a country where I don't even know the language. I don't even know if I got somewhere to stay at the age of 19. And I'm worried them going to Liverpool or Wolverhampton like my other son did.
Oh, bless you. So how, the new partner now, how was his family, his friends, how are they towards you?
My new partner, I loved him to pieces. And he will always, as I put in my first book, he will always hold a piece of my heart. Regardless of wrongdoing or whatever, he'll always be there. There was a bond, a very deep soul bond. But unfortunately, we're both emotionally disturbed, if you will, both of us, with our experiences, our family situation. So he was coming from a family where, again, there wasn't much love. The mum would be at home, dad would disappear for 3 or 4 days, then he would come back. It wasn't a close-knit family or the example of. So he always said that no marriage or never children or anything like that, because of what he had experienced as the distance, the coldness, if you will. Me, I just told about my story, so there I come as well. Instead, he's coming from the distance. I'm coming from, I need you, I need you, I need you. And I was holding on for their life to feel loved and needed to feel loved. And he wasn't doing it because he didn't know how. He never learned it from anywhere. So it was just everybody at a distance. And I'm like, but I need you, you know. And looking, the jealousy was outrageous. So I was suffocating him with jealousy.
You were?
I was suffocating him. If a girl crossed his path, oh my God, he's going to leave me. And, you know, oh, now you like her. And it was constant demanding of reassurance on my part over him. And because, in a way, he loved it because it made him feel important. And in his mind, I know now, well, I knew shortly after kind of thing, because of the way also he was treating me. I was a little bit of a trophy in his arm because I was quite a pretty girl and nice figure at the time and all of that. So I was a little bit of a trophy in his arm. So that made him feel very important, all this attention that I was giving him, while he gave me none back. Only little crumbs. When he saw me getting distance, he would then give me a crumb and I would run back, only to take it away again. So there was the game for like 6, 7 years we were together. That was the game.
That's a long time.
Yeah, I was addicted to this guy. Honestly, I was. That's it. And what actually didn't happen. This one is the hardest part for me. This is, through it all, even more than the attack, which we will be coming on to, this for me was the hardest part and still is, and I think it will be forever.
Yeah.
I got pregnant with this guy. I got pregnant, and now remember what I said earlier, from the age of 6, my father always said, if you or your sister get pregnant, I will kill you and your mother if you get pregnant out of wedlock. So now there's me pregnant with the voice of my head, in my head of my father, that is going to kill me and my mother.
Was this planned?
No,
Okay.
I just happened to get pregnant, and now I got a dilemma in my hand, because my dad, for all those years, I heard those threats. He would kill me, baby, and my mom. So people would say, yes, but you're in a different country, you don't even have to go back. But in my mind, remember, always the protector, my mother is there, he's gonna kill her. So I just, again, the meltdown, and the guy that was with, he said, entirely your decision, I'll agree with whatever you're doing. So it was all in my hands, and I was devastated because I wanted this child, but I knew that life could be lost. Whether, like somebody said to me, yeah, but you know, your father wouldn't have done it. My father pulled the trigger on a man because he shot his dog, and we were lucky that my father's gun was empty, because this man shot his dog on a hunting trip by mistake. So my father was capable. So I had to make the decision to have a termination. And that was the most devastating decision I have ever had to make in my entire life. And to this day is one thing that, you know, I've got over everything else, but to this day there is still something there that doesn't sit, always in my heart, because I really wanted, I really didn't want to do that. But I felt at the time, and we can only make decisions with the information we have at the time,
Correct.
that was my only choice. That's what well, it was the best choice out of a bad bunch.
Yeah.
So that caused my head to step into depression again, and to become even more attached to this guy, because now, again, going back to the upbringing, the message that now you have determination, nobody else is going to want you. Because my mother used to say, if you sleep with anybody before you get married or whatever, if that relationship finishes, nobody will ever be with you, ever. So,
oh my gosh,
I was even more latching, because I say, okay, now I'm stuck, I'm going to be with this guy forever. And the more he was pulling away, the more I was saying, you can't go, because now this is happened. No, I cannot be with anybody else. And also what I did would have been for nothing. So that was my reasoning behind. That's how my mental health was severely attacked by it, big time. I was in pieces. So now I was in a relationship where I was fighting to hold on to this guy, not only because I felt I loved him, but because there was another reason, so that determination would not have been for nothing. I already didn't forgive myself, but that would have been the end of me in my eyes. So eventually I went to counseling.
Stop.
Mm-hmm.
I need a breather, guys. Somebody help me. Somebody.
When you said that you was with this guy, was it 6 years?
Yes.
You said you was with him. So when did this happen during that 6 years?
I think it was like within 9-10 months of being together.
Oh, right.
So it was quite fresh.
Early end.
It was early.
And then you then...
I hadn't even taken him to Italy to meet my family yet. Yes. Eva wanted to say something?
This is a strange question, but I know, have you ever had a connection with that child? as in a meeting, a visitation?
I did. How did you know? You know what? Yeah, you see, in my second book, there is a poem song at the end where as loud, because somebody actually through a lady that I met, they said to me that actually that child is always with me. It's always with me. You know, it's the soul that is always around me. But in my sleep, after that woman told me that, I think it was like 1 or 2 weeks later, this child's voice singing, the most beautiful voice, a boy, and she had said as well there was a boy actually, sang the words. I could only remember when I woke up only 4 sentences, but it was longer than that, and it was clear as clear can be, the most beautiful, beautiful voice, and I knew it hit home big time. And the connection, the words that came was what I actually added to my second book, was life will give you love, will give you armor, will give you hope, will give you option. And he actually sang it, but I can tell you how clear, you know, dreams sometimes they're all like faded in the background, you're almost like watching your dreams, or even if you are in it, it's still faded. This was so loud, so loud. It was the most incredible thing. It was the most incredible thing. So yeah, always in my heart. Thank you, Eva. Yes. But yeah, it's for me that was absolutely the one of the most traumatic things in my life. Plus, if you add that there was the church settings with it as well, so being brought up in a convent school, my friends saying you're going to be discommunicated and all of that. So I ended up going to Victoria's Cathedral, and I went there to go to confession, and my friend even said to me, if he says he's going to excommunicate you, run. Run out, don't let him say the word that you're not excommunicated. So I actually went to confession, and I couldn't even breathe because I was sobbing all the way through, so much so that the poor priest, I don't know how he kept it together, and he said to me, you know what, you're all right, you're all right. You know, he said, you don't need to feel this way, just say your Hail Marys and things like that. But he said, you know, don't beat yourself up because it's fine, you're okay. It's just one of those things, but it's something that happens, you learn from it, and basically, you know, you done wrong, but don't go and use it to martyr yourself, kind of thing. So it was amazing, and which made me cry even more and go to pieces even more. But I was seriously traumatized by the whole thing because I so didn't want to do that.
So Daniela, I'm thinking, who, you know, bearing in mind you're in the UK now, so I mean, what have you got, friends? Have you got, who, I mean, who are you?
I had friends. There was one girl that came with me, as well as my boyfriend at the time that came with me, and honestly, he wasn't very well behaved at all on that occasion. She knew, but again, we weren't close friends. She just came with me. Otherwise, I had nobody to tell. In fact, I think I remember I told my boss where I was working. It was a Spanish lady. And I told her because I kept breaking down. I just had to run into the toilet because I just had a massive meltdown. And so she was my employer. She needed to know what had gone on. She was a massive support. She was just amazing, beautiful, beautiful woman. But, you know, it went on for years. My trauma went on for years. And as I said, because I was so trying to make this relationship last as well. And eventually I took him to Italy. My mother went mental. My father was okay. My father was okay because my father's opinion was, my father loved dogs. And we used to, when I grew up, we had like 25, 26 dogs in the farm. And so my father's comment, when my mom would, because I warned them in advance, and my mom wanted to, through her ignorance again, she wanted to assess how black. I was like, what do you mean how black? Black is black, right? You know, how black. So the Cosby Show was on the telly and things like that. She was trying to assess according to the color of the people on the Cosby Show. But when we actually turned up, and my mom, they all came to the door, my mom actually turned on her heels and went back in the house. Really, nope. My father came over, hugged him and kissed him and everything. This guy, because he didn't do affection, didn't know what to do with it. But my dad said, you know, dog mix, so why can't people mix? So that's why he could accept it, because he loved dogs and he could see the relationship according to the dog. So it was okay for any human being to mix with any race, because dogs did. My mom, not accepting. Until she got to know him. Then when we split up, why did you leave him? That was the best thing that's ever happened to you. You know, how dare you leave him? Get him back. I was just like, oh my God, I can't win. When we split up, my mom was on the phone to me, my birthday, to tell me, how old was I? 25, I think, that I was going to be left on the shelf. You split up, there you go. Now you're left on your shelf. 7 o'clock in the morning on my birthday. You know, because it was just like, no, she liked him now. And it was all my fault. For my mother, it was always my fault. So there was that.
Stop.
But yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Daniela, did he want you to have the abortion, or is it just purely you because of your situation?
He never
was he okay
showed.
with it?
He said he didn't care. One way or another, you choose. I'm not taking responsibility. So I had no guidance from him, because I think if he had said to me, you know, let's do it or whatever. Yep. But he always said as well that he didn't really want children and things like that. But then he said, your decision, not mine. Nothing to do with me in that respect. I go with whatever. So I was truly alone to make this decision. Nobody else knew, just me and him. You know, I didn't even know I was pregnant. I went to Italy for a wedding. And then while there, this is a funny story. While there, I actually had to go and visit my brother-in-law's father, that he had been hospitalized. So I went to visit this man in hospital, and I ended up in the bed next to him because I passed out. Next thing I know, I have this doctor scooping me up from the floor, and I wake up in the bed next to this man in an hospital bed, not knowing what had happened. And the doctor saying to me, are you pregnant? My mother, don't be such a fool. She's not even married yet. You know, it's like the doctor's looking at me, are you pregnant? Like, no, I'm not. I'm thinking, oh God, am I? I had no idea. But yeah, I didn't even know. But when I actually told him that I found out and everything, he wanted no part in the decision making. So I was truly on my own to make the decision with everything that was running crazy in my head. So I made that decision, hit the floor, talk about depression, and ended up, went to counselling.
You did?
Pardon?
You did get some counselling?
Yeah, I went to get counselling, and the first counsellor I went to didn't work out. It wasn't my kind of counselling. The second counsellor I went to, and she's in my first book as well, mentioned in there, she was amazing. Even my therapy is based on the way she worked, because it works. And she helped me with that. She helped me with the relationship, to try and take back the power and get me to understand that all this, you know, I'm not God, I can't fix everybody, and to take responsibility for my life. And for me, that was such a shock. And I actually say to my clients as well now, sometimes, you know, and just like, you know, she turned around and she said to me, who do you think you are? God? And I was like, oh my God, no, I'm nobody, because I always felt like this more. And for somebody to think that I thought I was big-headed, it was like, oh, please don't think that of me, I'm not that. But she was actually saying, you can fix people, right? So you need to step back, stop rescuing. And this guy, it is a good thing too, right? Because his behavior is not acceptable. You know, he keeps passing the back there. It's like, yeah, you keep saying this guy, that guy, but it's him encouraging the behavior, right? So have a look at the situation from your standpoint, where your power is and what you can do with it. So there was a lot of guidance there until I decided to call it a day. And it broke my heart because I didn't want to break up with him either, because I had strong feelings for him. And I knew
even with everything, even with
everything, even the way he was treating me, even with the coldness, even with everything. For me, I could see the soul within him. They had a good heart. It's just like me. It was a troubled soul. So I called it a day. And obviously stepped down into depression again, into that kind of thing. Fighting hard, but again, putting the techniques into practice that I learned with my counselor. And then, I can't use the word because obviously we are online. The rubbish.
You can use the word. You can use the word.
You know, things did, you know, the worst actually did happen. I was working, I had amazing friends, one of whom, in fact, the one that was there is online right now. And she was there at the time. We worked together. We were in each other's pockets all of the time. I had some amazing support through the relationship and everything. And the night before, the same day, like a year ago today, we were at work and I was so down. And she said to me, come over, come to mine, don't go home, come to mine. And I said to her, no, I was feeling so low. And plus my boyfriend, which had just left, said he was going to come and see me because he wanted to remain friends. He was going to come and see me a couple of days prior, but again, mind games, he didn't come. So I was still hoping that he would turn up at the door, that we could still sort it out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I said to my friend, I said, no, I'm going home. I'm not in the mood for good company, and maybe we'll turn up, whatever. So I decided to go home. And I went home, and somebody did come and knock at the door, but it wasn't my just broken up boyfriend. It was somebody that came to kill me, was coming to kill me. In fact, I got a passage ready for it. If that the right book? It is. I'm going to put my glasses on if that's okay.
Well, we'd rather you be able to read it.
Before I even realized what was happening, while in my shocked thoughts, I saw a fist fast approaching my face, and an almighty punch landed straight on my left eye. I hit the wall. He was in, door shut behind him, his arms around my neck. I was choking. With my feet barely touching the ground and desperately gasping for my breath, I was dragged to the kitchen. My head was hung over the kitchen sink, and I could hear him rummaging through the cutlery drawer. As I started to pass out, I turned my thought to God, and in my head, thinking this was the end, I prayed, God, I know I said I wanted to die, but not this way, please, not this way. Astonishingly, as my inner prayer ended, so did my fight for breath, as my assailant let go of his squeeze on my neck. As light and focus came back to my eyes, however, I saw I now had a threat of a different kind. he had got the sharpest out of a small selection of knives out of the drawer and was pointing it right at me. So my attacker was in the house, a schizophrenic, released from Broadmoor a couple of days prior. He saw me drive home and he decided that I was going to be his date for the night, and then he was going to murder me so he could raise his status in prison. That's where I was 25 years ago tonight. And so you can imagine the ordeal that went through, the 2.5 hours ordeal before I actually managed to escape with my life. I was guided from somewhere and I managed to escape with my life. So that was the next experience. My friend, as I said, came when the police came eventually. My friend came straight away and she came through with me through the process that you need to do the same night, and my eyes was fully mashed up, couldn't see anything out of it. Went through all the procedure. My friend was kind enough to put me up at her house because I couldn't go back to the place where that had happened. And yeah, I had to go to court. We went to the Old Bailey a year later. No, a year later, 9 months later. This happened on the 25th of April. The February later, we went to the Old Bailey and managed to put him away. He got 5 life sentences, 13 years without parole.
You say 13 or 30?
14 years without parole, 14 years without parole, which means every year is now applying for parole. And every year I get a letter when I want to say something. But it's very, very unlikely that it will be coming out ever again because he's a very ill man. I was supposed to meet him actually through restorative justice. I started the process because I have forgiven him. Hence why my second book, I have forgiven him. And I wanted to go and meet him to do the last step to whatever, but apparently so dangerous still that the day before all the association were getting together to see whether he was fit, because he agreed, and he didn't want to do the training they needed to do to meet me. He was getting very angry because he wanted to do it as soon as possible. But when all the agencies got together to assess him, the day before he took his medication, apparently came out of his cell as if nothing had happened. He picked up fire extinguisher and started beating one of the guards. It took several people to remove him from the guard. So that's how dangerous it still is. So we had to call it a day. It couldn't happen because they said, we can't put you in a room with him. We don't want to be in a room with him. Never mind putting you there. So unfortunately that didn't happen. But it's one of those things. He knows, because through the process they was going through, he knows I've forgiven him. And that's, for me, that's enough to actually get my freedom, my healing, my everything that I need, that everything is okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
yeah, I had a few bumps along the way of my life, just a few bumps.
Shelley's just asked a question, and yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Let's throw it out there. Is everybody okay?
I think we got some hands up. Eva?
Yeah, they're not really bumps, are they? They're like Mount Everest.
You see, I'm climbing. You see, I'm proof you can reach the top. It's almost like that video you sent me today. You see perseverance, keep climbing.
Yeah. Good. Well,
Vicky, want to say something? I think she's still, there we go.
Yeah, no, I have to work. I'm not very technological. There's a couple of things that you were talking about there, and one was the program where they pulled the plug on it because he was still too dangerous.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets that you weren't actually able to see him face to face and be able to say to him, whether he accepted it or not, be able to say to him, this is what you did to me?
You see, I wasn't even going there with the intention to say this is what you did to me. When it happened at the time, I was mad. I was so cross and angry at everybody, especially the people that let him out because they needed beds. I was really cross. And I wanted to actually take up on studies or anything because I needed to go and ask him, why me, right? I needed answers. I needed to speak to him. I needed to scream at him. But actually, after all the healing that I've done and coming here where I am today, this time around, I just wanted, I had a few questions, even like to say, you know, do you even have an idea of what you did or anything like that? It's more curiosity. But it's like even the people from restorative justice said to me, but, you know, what if it says something you don't like? Are you going to be okay? Because they need to prep you for it. Yeah. And I said to them, I'm not going there, I said to them, to hear what he's got to say. I don't need a sorry from him. I just need me to tell him, you're out of my head. You're out of my life. I am over you. I'm over what happened. Although I have to say, every year, the muscle memory is there. So sleepless nights around this week and mood swings. Yeah. Tears come from nowhere because the subconscious mind, the trauma, still there. But consciously, I just sing myself a song like, I'm a survivor, you know, and all of that. And I try to come back to the now.
I'm the singer, remember.
You're going to join with the singing. You know, but I do regret in a way because it took a year of prep to actually be able to make this happen, only to be pulled from under my feet. And through the year, you're actually going back to relieve what's happening and everything and in details, you know, because you don't know, because I wanted almost to, not only, I wasn't doing it just to help others, because I was doing it to show people this is how much you can get over things. You can go face to face with something that happened in the past because you can heal. But I was also doing it to test me, to see, because I didn't know if I'd end up in front of him and then I would run. I had no idea what my reaction was going to be, but I was prepared to get there because I needed to say, I don't want to hear anything. I just wanted to say, I am free of you. I'm okay. I have forgiven you, and I do wish you the best. I hope you heal, right? I didn't get a chance to tell him face to face, but he knew why I wanted to meet him, so at least he knows that I have forgiven him. I know he would have laughed at my face. I know that he would have laughed at my face like he laughed at me then, because it's not well. And it is what it is. But I needed to say what I needed to say. And that, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance. Although there is a radio presenter that she said to me, oh, we might, you know, let's see if we can do it over video or something, you know. He's still pushing for it, bless him. So I have a lot of support for it, but it doesn't seem likely that it's going to happen. But I have built enough for me to have been able to at least enrich it just by trying the process, at least he knows, and I have freed me even more so. So, yeah.
Wow.
We've got the question from Leisha. Did you want to ask it, Leisha? Hang on, I'm trying to unmute you. Did you want to ask your question?
Thank you. I don't mind. Sorry. I just didn't know if I'd have a voice, to be honest, but I have. Just sort of wondering how you found it in yourself to forgive that person, because I'm just struggling within my own self to forgive.
It is not easy. Yeah, it is not easy, because at the end of the day, you had to go through the stages of healing, which includes anger, which includes pain and all of that, you know, the turmoil that you need to go through. There are different stages to healing. Forgiveness is one of them, and it's massive, because forgiveness is not about excusing the person's behavior and saying that it's okay. Forgiveness is about us releasing ourselves, freeing ourselves from a time that no longer is, and coming back to understanding that we have the power over our lives. Every time I think of him and what was happening, he's winning. I'm in pain. He doesn't know how I feel. He has no idea. But when I let go of that memory, when I let go of it, I free me. I come back in the now. This is where I live with my husband, with my children, with my friends. This is where I am. So we're forgiving, accepting that the person, in fact, I'm going to read you a passage on it, that the person is the journey that is here to impart upon us and the life that is here to live himself. So the action is the problem. The person is a soul in expression according to the part that is come to play here on this life. So I'm going to read you a passage, if that's okay. That's from my last book, which is going to be a bit controversial, because I raise a lot of questions for people. I make people think, because I offer a lot of different perspectives. So that it's through those different perspectives that I have come to heal myself. Because in life, there is always opposites, right? There is always an opposite. From every down, there is an up. From every dark, there is a light. So changing our perspective is going to make us feel, if we feel bad, going to the opposite is going to make us feel good. So in this book, some people might feel like I'm pushing kind of thing my luck a little bit, because I make them take responsibility, because life belongs to you, not to an attacker, not to anybody else. It belongs to us, right? So it's about taking your life back. And that's why I offer in this book so many different perspectives that have helped me look at life in a way that kept me back to me. What do I think? What do I want to do? What can I do? Instead of focusing what is the other person doing. So on this one, on this thing of forgiveness and how about seeing things in a different way. If an animal is ill or in pain, and as you tend to him, fearful of your touch, he bites you, would you hold it against him? Would you be angry at him, resent him, or even hate him and never forgive him for it? Chances are you may be wary of going close to him in future. When you approach him again, the image of that event flash through your mind and make your approach more tentative. And you may feel fearful of the new moment as self-preservation and self-protection kicks in. But I dare say, you will not hold ill feelings against him. So why hold resentment, hate, or anger toward a person who has wronged us or hurt us? Behind every ill action or words, there is a hidden pain, fear, or illness that the giver is dealing with, and the recipient is none aware of it. You may say, well, actually, I'm going to leave it there. So, you see, again, it's how we perceive. If I focus, and another thing on there, which I'll let you read if you ever get the book, you know, if I focus forgiveness, which is in here, the guy is actually near the last chapter, that if I focus on forgiving him, and the flashes that goes through my head is one of the action that took place of rape, or beating or trying to kill me, I cringe. There is no way forgiveness can come to the force of the mind, right? But if I look the soul within that person as an expression for the part that he has come to play, we are all here to teach each other. We are each other's teacher and each other's students at any given encounter. Every movie has a bad guy in it to teach people, but that bad guy also got a story behind it. He wasn't born bad. Is either real or he has learned that behavior. Either way, we either need to give them medication or train them to a better behavior, because it's the behavior. It's not the person being born as, right, I'm going to go and kill Daniela today. So that's where my forgiveness comes in, to understand that he's playing a role for me to grow. And as at the time I really wanted to die, life possibly even brought him to me to say, you really want to die? There you go. Hence why my prayer with my head down the sink was, God, I said I wanted to die, but please not this way. Because I needed to be woken up. Yes, a bit harshly, but hey, I did, you know, life did try to wake me up a few times before and I didn't listen, so I suppose he had to turn me up a notch. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, you're incredible. Did
Sandra had a question. Yeah.
Where's Sandra?
Hang on, it's coming up. It takes a while to unmute on here. There you go. Sandra.
Sandra.
She's now gone to sleep. Sandra?
Maybe she's not hearing.
Sandra, can you hear us? Where's she gone?
Oh, there she goes. Sandra?
Hi. You keep freezing, and I'm not sure. I've got my Wi-Fi is fully on, but you keep freezing.
Oh.
I wanted to ask, because I had a severe trauma in my childhood from 6 to 9, and I blamed myself all the way through, right? And I was in my mid-40s. And it was only going through counselling, and it was like that massive light bulb moment when the counsellor said to me, you were 6 years of age. You are speaking like an adult. You were 6 years of age. Did you at any time blame yourself at all for what had happened?
Immediately. I wasn't good enough.
Right.
I didn't hit him hard enough. If I didn't go home, immediately. It was me. I didn't do it right. I should have beat him up. You know, at the time I used to do Thai boxing. So it's just like, see, look how good you are. Immediately I turned in myself, look how good you are. You couldn't even defend yourself. You did this. So
right.
as you must deserve it, and you know, you made the wrong choices, and this is what you're gonna get out of life because you're not a good person. So you know, although I got so much better through my counselling, you know, with a shock like that, it brought me back into turning against me until I shut down. And I remember sitting against the wall. In fact, my friend again, Dacia, she called me, and at the time I did get together again with the boyfriend, although not as being together, as living in the same apartment, separate rooms and everything. And he was so cross with me because I had shut down, but I didn't even know I had shut down. I just sat against the wall on the floor, and there was nothing, absolutely nothing for 2 or 3 days, nothing. And my friend here, you know, she called me, and I only heard him say, because everything was coming through a car or whatever, and I heard him say, she doesn't want to speak to you. So he told my friend I didn't want to speak to her. Well, I was just in zombie mode, right? And I said, but I do want to speak to her. But it was just like, you know, it took me a while to actually come back. Everything was so zombified for a long time, so much so, and because the mind was playing catch up, even when before the court case came about and the police gave me my statement to refresh my mind, honestly, I had my eyes covered and I was doing this because there were things in there that my mind had blanked out already. After like 8 months, my mind had already defended me, protected me by shutting out. And I was saying, oh my God, this really did happen, you know. But yeah, it wasn't easy. And I did come close to actually call it a day. What with the boyfriend, what happened, what we're feeling alone, what with the anger, I did come close to actually call it a day. But eventually court case came, dealt with that. I was petrified. I didn't even let my closest friend come to the court case for how much they wanted to, because I was afraid that I didn't want them to hear the details of what had happened, because I was afraid like I was rejecting myself, they too might reject me. Yep. So I didn't want them to come. The boyfriend friend at this point did come, but I think it was more for curiosity than anything else. I had a fantastic chaperone from the police. She was absolutely amazing. Court was not like court is now. I had to, there was no scream. He was there and I had to face him again. The staring that he was giving me and everything, because of course he had made up all rubbish stories or things as to why that never did happen. But after 3 days ordeals at the Old Bailey, he was found guilty, 5 life sentences. And then it was time to rebuild, which again, anger, all these stresses and everything. And then desperate to get on with my life, I met my first husband. And although a lot of the signs were there, again, went back to rescuing mode, went back to, I'm gonna fix this is gonna work. Yeah, I'm gonna make it work. No matter what, I'm gonna fix. And didn't fix. I had my 2 wonderful children, and that was an absolute blessing. So I would do it all over again. But it was domestic violence, control, abuse, severe mental abuse, odd physical, prison sentence for 10 years.
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't even go around to his parents' house. He would come, if he knew I was there, he would come and pick me up and drive me back home. What I didn't know at the time, that he had told me a lot of lies about his life and things like that. So of course, he was afraid they would come out. But again, I'm not going to go into that because that's his life and it's up to him. If he ever wants to write a book, in the meantime, he's in mine. But that's part of his story, so I'm not going to step into, I'm going to respect everybody's privacy, the attacker, because I know some of his story, my ex-husband, that's their lives and it's not up for me to share. So I'd be very respectful of that. But yeah, it was difficult. It was very difficult. There was a lot of threats to the point that, you know, being driven, like I put in the book, being driven off road with my children in the car, hiding my father's shotgun under the settee, depending on whether I was agreeing on things or not. You know, smashing up the house several times. So there was a lot of threats. And yeah, scary times.
So when you're going through this, in my head, you're kind of like, you know what you're going through, you know you've been there before, but you still can't get out of it.
Mm.
Is it like,
the thing is, because as well, I had 2 children.
yeah,
And again, I stepped into, I don't matter. They are priority. I need to protect my kids. And for me, again, the Italian background again came in, my childhood background. As long as they have a father that treats them, you know, that doesn't do anything to them, and as long as they don't see what happened to me, so they're free from trauma,
mm-hmm.
they need to have a father. I don't count. They need to have a father. You see? So I always came from that thing that as long as they don't get to witness anything, the children need to have the father. So I went through and hid all that was going on all the way through as much as I could until I couldn't hide it anymore because the children starting to grow up.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
for them, now I'm, you know, I made a decision that this was, although I was petrified of leaving him, because better than the devil, you know, you don't know if he's gonna find you and kill you. You don't know any of those things, and your mind plays so many tricks. Your mind plays so many tricks on you, you know, because you're telling yourself horror stories all the way through.
Mm.
Because it's giving you, because again, it's the mind abuse. So it just gives you threats that eventually you believe, you know, so you're not going to take the risk. You don't know if it's going to do or not, but you're not going to take the risk because you got 2 children. So I eventually found the courage, went, divorced, and started regrowing again, reassessing myself. And as I was teaching my children to love themselves, to give them a great life, to build them up, you know, to have them the self-love, everything, you know, the importance that they are, their worth, their value, everything. As I was teaching them, I started owning it myself. So the more I did that, the stronger I started becoming. Then, you know, went back into work and did a counseling course. So everything was starting to come together more and more. The fears, you know, the knocking up at the door, but still checking kind of thing, starting to subside and became stronger and stronger and stronger. And then I met my now husband. You
Hi,
know.
Stuart.
And you know, and I actually attracted somebody that it was matching who I am, who I have become, a more balanced person. And so I grew even more strong. I could actually branch out more and more and do and express and trial and error with the support of my now husband and my children, because it's a solid unit. And yeah, and then it built from there. And here I am now, living the life that I live, and still growing. Became an all-star, go figure. Loving the work that I do. But again, if it wasn't for the life that I lived, I wouldn't be able to be of service as I am right now, because you cannot relate, link to people to that depth if you just learn it from a book. Don't get me wrong, you can be absolutely amazing, and I know amazing people that do the same thing, but when you go into these kind of subjects, the more I suppose you come from, you survived it, you learn the how to. So not only you can do the counselor work as normal counselor work goes, but you also know the little bit extra strategy, the little kick of hope that you can give, because you can say, if I can do it, so can you. I am proof that nothing is insurmountable.
You're going to take a breathing out. We've got a V's posted a question. V, do you want to ask that question?
Okay, hi. Hi, Daniela.
Hi,
honestly, it's riveting stuff. I just wanted to ask, did you ever want to hurt any of those men? How they'd hurt you? Did you ever get to a place where you thought, you know what, if I ever had that person here, what I would do to them?
You know what? No, I just wanted them to go away. I never actually did. And I've beat up a few guys in my life. I told you when I was young. When I was younger, I was proper feisty. As I said, all they had to do is say hello to me and I would hit them.
Yeah.
Honestly, proper fighting on the floor. But no, as growing up, I never had that need to actually hurt somebody.
Right.
I just wanted them to go away. With the attack, I just wanted questions answered.
Yes. I know.
With the rest, I just wanted them to go away.
Right.
You know, because if they go away, I was safe and didn't need to ask any question. I knew exactly what they were like and why, right? So I didn't want any of that. But I never meant any harm to them. I never did. And now even less so, because even my ex-husband, you know, I know it would be so easy to point that finger and say how he did me wrong, he put me through hell, he ruined my experiences of pregnancies. I can point that finger until the cows come home.
Yeah.
In reality, I need to take responsibility for my life, my actions. And I chose to stay for as long as I did.
Yes.
Yes, I was afraid. I was very afraid.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, fear is thought-based.
Yes.
Danger is different, but fear is thought-based.
Yes.
Instead of feeding myself thoughts that serve me to keep me prisoner,
yes,
I have chosen thoughts that empower me and move on.
Yeah.
But I didn't, because at the time, I didn't know the how to. At the time, I didn't care about me enough again.
Right. Okay. So for those people, so for those women or for those individuals who may have felt, I need to get myself a hit man to go and take them out. So you're saying then that they're in a destructive thought process.
Yeah, it's not going to serve them.
Right.
I mean, if they go hit men and they'll end up in prison. So they're still paying a big price themselves. Their life is ruined, right?
Yeah.
And every time, by staying or by thinking about them or reliving the past or building up to all the time they done me wrong, I keep me prisoner. My life belongs to me. And
That's
right now, now and in every moment, I have a choice.
Yes.
Stay
Thank you.
or leave.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing.
No, thank you.
Yes. Bye.
Bye. Can I turn the volume down? I can hear that queen.
So we've got somebody. Is that Alistair?
Hi, Rita. Although we can't hear you yet.
Just unmuted Vicky first.
Oh, where's Vicky?
Okay, here. Hello.
Hi, Vicky.
You talked about wanting to fix everybody.
Yes.
And one of the things that just occurred to me then was, in all those situations, in all those abusive situations and the attack, did you ever feel that you'd failed because you couldn't fix the problem? Does that make sense? Do you ever feel, or did you ever feel, sorry, because at the time, in all those situations, that you'd failed because you weren't the fixer? You couldn't fix it, you couldn't make it right. Therefore,
It was always my
It was all
fault.
down to you because you couldn't make it better. Did you
Yeah.
feel that? Yeah.
In a way, it was always my fault because I couldn't fix it. I was forever trying to make people happy, but of course, we can't fix people because their life does not belong to us. They're just living their lives according to what their path is and what they know. But me try to fix them, the fix them is to my version of how life should be. So trying to fix them under my idea is never going to happen. And of course, while at first they might feel important or whatever, eventually they're going to get fed up with me trying to fix them. And there is the spiral of rebelling, and for how much I tried, no change happens. And eventually I either go or the relationships become unhealthier than what they were to start with. Because it's almost like I had antennas that actually attracted these people for me to learn the lesson, stop fixing, right? Accept people for who they are, you either like them and you get on with them, or move on to somebody that suits you. But no, I didn't want to do that, did I? At the time, it was just for me, it was a constant needed to help, but I didn't know the difference between supporting and rescuing. So I wasn't helping, I was rescuing. When we rescue, we automatically create victim and perpetrator, like the drama triangle that I put in the book. Automatically, we step within their roles, within those sides, that at certain times you're a victim, and the rescuer comes in, and the victim feel important because they feel loved, they've been rescued. But then eventually they're going to get fed up because they're going to feel suffocated. So they're going to end up being the perpetrator. They're going to start having a pop at you. And then you start the victim, and then they turn into rescuer. So it's a very unhealthy process. And I was great at playing within that triangle, within that process. I was a master, right? And the biggest part, because we all play the three roles in turn, but there is one part that we play more than the other. And for me, that part that I played most was the rescuer. Because again, I didn't know the difference between being able to support somebody, so you're there for them if they need, if they ask for guidance or whatever, and somebody that is there to basically do things for themselves, for them, being the doormat, rescue in every way, which is unhealthy because I would do everything they say in order to make them happy, but that's not going to work. I didn't see that for a long time.
Yeah. And do you find once a fixer, always a fixer? So do you find that even now you still fall back into that pattern?
The tendency is there, because again, especially in certain situations, but because I have, I suppose, work on myself so much, although the thought might be there to do that, I have learned to automatically step back and not to step in there. And if I do step in there, I realize it and step away, and I reward what I have to say. Because, for example, even with my children, always want to rescue. We don't want our children to feel the pain of every relationship that hurt them and things like that. But, well, at first I was like, you okay? You can see they're not okay. And they say, yeah, I'm fine, Mom. Yes, but what's going on? I can see you're not okay. Do you need this? Is that this? Is that that? That's just, again, going there, try to fix.
Yeah.
Then, as soon as I realized that's what I was doing even as a mother, I learned to step back. I go there and say, are you okay? And if they say to me, yeah, Mom, I'm fine, and I can see they're not, so now the message is, okay, you know where I am if you need. You can talk to me about anything, don't you? You know where I am if you need. And I leave it at that. I don't go and prod, try to fix for them, because they need to try and err in their life. And if I step in there, I take away their right. By becoming the rescuer, I take away their right to make their choices, to learn their lessons, to see what works, what doesn't work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Who was next? First, hang on, there you go. There you go.
Hi. Hi.
Daniela,
Yeah.
you've not brought it up as a subject matter, but I know that you've used it a lot, and so have I, about the universe supporting us.
Yes.
It's a little way out there, but I was just wondering, because I know it works, I was wondering how you came into it and across it and learned it.
Right. Now, when I was, thank you for that, Eve. That's a really good one as well. When I, after the attack, I went back to counseling. And again, we did more work and things like that. And affirmation came into place. Actually, even before then, affirmation came into place and everything. But again, I couldn't say things like, I love you in front of the mirror, because I couldn't stand me. Never mind, I love you, not even I like you. So there were certain things I could not say as affirmation to help myself. Certain things I could, but the one they were too close about me, not happening. So I actually did a lot of personal work, trial and error, self-help material, testing, following the feeling, listening to my intuition a bit more, which I never done so much prior, hence why I got into so many troubles by not listening to me. So a lot of those things. So through a lot of reading and by amending the affirmations, like I am strong, I am powerful, I am confident, all those things I had to keep telling myself in order to empower myself after the attack, and even more so after, you know, when I left my ex-husband. So to try and rebuild myself up, I did a lot of affirmations. But then, because I couldn't say others, I started coming from a place of gratitude. And I noticed that for me, the things worked better. So I looked more into that kind of self-help material, the gratitude way, the universe, like the law of attraction, and how, you know, again, what you put out there manifests. Again, well, everything in our world starts in our thinking. We create our world by our thinking. That's why we're so powerful. So I started working on that more and more. And the more power I put into those things, into, say, to, you know, speaking, because you can speak to God, but again, God, call it God, call it universe, call it life, that's all there is. He embodies it all. We are one, right? So with that in mind, the more I started focusing and giving my thanks, gratitude to the universe. Thank you for the beauty that I see. Thank you for the love within me and around me. Thank you for the peace, calm, and serenity within me and around me. Because I couldn't say I love you to me, but even to say thank you to the universe, to God, to life, for the love within me and around me. The word love was there. And I started to like say, oh, I'm starting to feel this. So I started building from there. Then I started making jokes in the mirror, talking to myself like, yeah, I love you, really, kind of thing. So from a laughter, I became more and more confident. Now I can actually look at myself in the mirror with warmth. So, and that grew and grew and grew until I am my friend. I love me now, big time. And nobody is gonna cross me to you know, if I ever go on me, it's gonna be me. The rest, I'm just walking away and not listening to nobody else. Right? Because again, but I noticed the more you put out there, I started attracting, because you know, actually, possibly that's where the penny dropped. When I was going through domestic violence, my form of escapism was to visualize a love of some form, right? So in my loneliest times and afraid times, I was almost being rescued. I was not rescued, but it was, in my mind, my nice vision was I was dancing with a nice man, with a flower. He was all suited and booted, and I felt warmth. I was loved, right? Well, you know what? And this person had no face, but they built the way dresses, the everything is my husband now. Everything in that character that I envisioned, everything that I felt, I materialized, I attracted into my husband now. So, and then I started noticing with other things when I was worried about financial, because when I left domestic violence, I left with debts. I had a friend, and she's here now, they helped me out, right? Because because we owned the house, you couldn't come away, or, unless the house was sold, the house, you would not be rehoused, which means I would have to live there with him. So to be able to sell the house, but there was this amount of money in bad equity or whatever, that he said, I'm not paying that. If you pay, we're selling. If not, no. So I had a friend, and she's on here now, bless her, that thanks to her, I was able to have the house sold, and I would then be rehoused with my children. And through that, again, I had nothing. I had to start from scratch in my home. There was no flooring, there was no curtains. So my Visa card built up to the max. So again, starting doing the thank you. Although I was still kind of not aware how it worked, but still did those thank you and things like that. Until I got better and better. And the better I'm getting, the more I say, right, I need this now, thank you. And it's almost like a light-hearted exchange, but you'd be surprised how quick it comes. And again, it's not about greed, it's not about whatever, it's just about being okay and being able to have a nice flow with the world. So if I finish with a client and I need a new client, say I need a new client now, thank you. And the phone will ring. It always does. So I started noticing that he listened. So I've been doing it more and more. So in that way, I started stopping coming from a place of lack, from a place of fear, and that's coming from a place of abundance. Look at the people I've got on here, the amazing people in my life, right? So I feel the love, I feel supported. Abundance, I've got nothing to worry about. I've got a roof over my head. My bills are getting paid. Am I in a mansion? No, but I don't need a mansion. When I say I want to sell my books and I want somebody to make a movie out of my books, why I want the money is because I want to buy a house by the sea where I can use for a retreat for people to come for free. Not for me to live the luxury life, so that I can help people better. Right? It's because it's the flow, the give and take. That's what makes me feel good. So it's always listening. Honestly, the universe is, you bounce off the universe. You are the universe, and it's abundant. Everything is in there. You just need to ask. If you don't ask, it doesn't know what to give you. You need to ask what you want, and mean it, and it will deliver it. We got this.
Yeah, we're not quite at the end, guys. Does anybody you don't understand. I know you don't. You're just being you, Daniela. You're just being you. And we kind of, as much as, and I'm sure obviously there's people on here that have known you a while and God knows whatever, every time you speak, I learn so much more. I learn so much more. And you do not know who is being impacted when you share.
No. And you know what? That's why I've written the books. Because I was actually going to write it for me. It was, especially the first one, because it is my first one is my life story. There's details in there, including silly things that I've done, like getting absolutely drunk, slaughtered at the age of 5, right? So there is also details in that book, funny ones too. But I wrote it, it was cathartic experience and everything. But at the same time, I said, you know what, I was petrified about putting it out there because, again, I was raised by my father that he was the pillar of the community. You know, just always worry about what people is going to say. Don't put yourself in a firing line. So image has always been a big thing. So I was actually really worried about releasing it. But then I thought, you know what, Dan, you are here for a purpose. And my purpose is revealed itself to me more and more, stronger and stronger as time has gone by. And the thing was, I was saying with my husband, if I could change, even if it helps one person, this book, it will all be worth it. If it can help one person. But actually, I was not prepared for the comeback. How many people actually were touched from, because it covers an avalanche of traumas. You'd be surprised the private messages, people actually talking to me and leaving reviews and face to face and things like that. It's touched so many more people than one person that I thought it would. And I am so grateful. So I knew I had, you know, I'm on the right road, and for how uncomfortable I feel about doing things like this, you know, speaking live, doing technology, and all of these
You've not
things.
done any technology.
No, but in front of it, you can see me. You can see me. So yeah, yes, I haven't done no technology. Stuart and you lot did it. But I still find it really hard to be at the center of attention. I never like to be at the center of attention, but I know that my purpose is bigger than me, and I need to put my ego aside and serve the people. Because as I serve people, I serve me, because this is what I'm here to do. I know it. I know it. Everything that's happened in my life has not been for nothing. It's been for a reason. It's been so I can be the light for somebody.
Yeah.
Anybody. To be of service. Yeah.
I'm just looking at everybody's face. Let Daniela take a sort of like a breather, guys. I don't even know what the time is. Can somebody tell me what the time is?
9:40.
Really?
Yeah.
You guys are all look. Do you believe that? Can you believe that? Cecile's going like, yeah.
Yeah, we've done this before. We're on other calls.
It's the D effect.
It's the D effect.
Okay, so that we can, because we're sharing, obviously we've got the chat there, so we're sharing information, we're signposting, because I don't know who is online. I don't know where everybody's at. It could be a case of there's information that you've heard here tonight or that we're sharing that you can pass on to somebody else who it may help. Okay, there's the domestic violence helpline that's been shared on there. There's been some other information also as well. I think Sandra posted, because I was sort of saying with the lockdown in terms of domestic violence, did you put 700%, Sandra? It was, wasn't it? It's gone up in terms of sort of like in the space of like 4 or 5 weeks. And bearing in mind, for those statistics, there's people that they're not going to know about.
No, exactly, because some people don't let anybody know. I didn't at my times. So there will be people that will report it.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to give you a minute just to kind of breathe, Daniela. The guys, in terms of sort of like, just to, if I sort of say reflect, I don't even know if that's the right word, on, we've been on for like probably about 2.5 hours. Absolutely. When I looked at the thing, I thought, cool, blimey, I don't think we're even up to 8 o'clock. At that time, it's like 10 to 9. I'm like, 10 to 9! Really? What I'm going to do, if it's okay, we have got Sandra Moore who is on, and Sandra, if we can unmute her, what I'm going to get Sandra to do is, just because it can be overwhelming what we've just gone through, and really and truly, some people might have known what you were going to talk about, some people may not have. We've not quite finished yet, but Sandra is all about mindfulness and some other bits and pieces. Sandra, are you there?
I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
here.
Okay. So if we can sort of like just get Sandra on our little screens, guys. She's somewhere. She's somewhere. Swipe and find her.
Oh.
Swipe and find her. Sandra, if I can give you just a couple of minutes just to kind of, we've kind of, we're not quite finished, we're nearly there. If you could just kind of just level us out a bit, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. I think given what Daniela has spoken about tonight and the sheer compassion behind her story, I think it might be nice just to do a little bit of visualization, heart visualization, where we just send compassion and love to each other. And that can be done just by us visualizing the colour pink as a light, a pink light. So if we all close our eyes and just take a few deep breaths in, just normal breaths, just, you know, breathe in and out a couple of times, and then picture a pink light around the heart center, and just focus on that. And once you focus it and it's in your mind's eye, just send it out to anyone you think that needs it. So it could be someone in the group, it could be someone in your family, it could be someone that you know, a person that you've seen on the street that you feel they need some love. But just visualize that pink light and send it to whoever you want. You can send it to the group or to an individual, but let's just take about 30 seconds just to visualize and send that love out. And by sending that love out, we're sending compassion, we're sending forgiveness. If it's someone you've chosen that, you know, as we've been, you know, Danielle's been speaking through the evening, and it's someone that may have done you a wrong, who have hurt you, just send that compassion. By sending compassion and love to that person, you're on the road to forgiveness, forgiving them and letting it go. Forgiveness is key because it's part of self-love, and that's something that I've learnt, and I'm sure Danielle will explain how she has got to, you know, how she forgave. But for me, it was forgiving them because then I can then in turn love myself. So if any of you are out there that needs to forgive, just visualize that person and send them some love and compassion. Is that okay, Dee?
That is.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thank you.
Who's that?
Daniela. I just said thank you.
Danny, I'll just say for here, I would just like to to connect and to speak, because there's a few things that you have touched upon that are very similar to how I've learned to forgive and the compassion. And, you know, you talk about the universe and gratitude coming from a place of gratitude. It's very, very similar to my journey.
Yeah.
Not the events, but
it's the process.
Yeah, the process.
Yeah.
So I fully understand where you're coming from.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
No, we must connect. We must connect.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
That's just brought us down, hasn't it? That's just. I'd spoken to Sandra earlier on today, Daniela, and I said, because of the nature of what we were talking about, and I just felt it was going to be quite, as in like just to sort of like just bring us to a level, and what you shared. So thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Sandra.
No, thank you, Daniela. I just, yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing that you've gone through all of that, and you're living your best life now.
Yes. I finally got it. I'm a little bit hard of hearing, so it takes me a while to get the lessons, but eventually got there.
Yes.
The main thing is that eventually we get there.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
I can't put into words myself. I can't put into words, or not right now anyway. I don't know how many people we've got online, how many people we've had online. Does anybody want to? Obviously, it's almost 10 now, and I don't want people just to disappear without sort of like any other questions that they might want to just ask Daniela at all.
I'm going to unmute everyone, so please don't all speak at once. Right, you're all unmuted. So anyone shout first.
Okay, it's Vicky again. What I'd like to know, so you've written a book, you've written 2 books, and you're telling your story. How did you reconcile writing a book that involved people who are close family that how can I say, so they're still alive, they're going to see the book, they're going to know what you've said, they're going to know that people are going to read that and know what they were like as you were growing up. How did you reconcile writing that book and telling your story and including those people who, I suppose, convention says you should just not kind of, I'm trying to say, so how, without upsetting them?
Yeah, you see, in a way, I've been a little bit luckier on there because obviously my family is Italian and the majority cannot speak English.
Sorry.
My mom doesn't even know about the attack.
Hang on. I don't need my glasses to look at you.
Put your glasses on to hear better.
What did you just say?
So funny. What?
What did you just say?
I just said that my mom still doesn't know about the attack. My mom knows that somebody broke, because I did go to Italy for when the press really hit the country with it. So I went to Italy for a week. And my mom eventually knew that somebody broke into my home and I got a slap and robbed and went out. That's as far as she knows. She doesn't know of what he actually did to me and I had to escape with my life. She doesn't know any of the details.
Does your dad?
No. God, no. No, he didn't know either. But again, at the time, I did the out of protecting them, partly, because I didn't want to hurt them. And my dad would see it as me bringing shame on the family. And partly because I'm thinking, they're going to make me go back to Italy. I don't want to. So they didn't know. My sister eventually got to know. Now that I've written the book,
you didn't tell her?
And sorry?
Did you not tell your sister?
Eventually I did. Eventually my sister knew. But she didn't know again the ins and outs until I released my book, and I think my niece obviously bought my book, and she could speak some English, and then my sister got to find out even more details. So, but yeah, for the rest is even through the domestic violence, Vicky, as you was asking, my sisters-in-law both got my books. So it's you know, it's out there, but I'm sticking. How I got away with it, if we have to use the word getting away with it, is that I stuck to facts, to the event, not to is big for doing this or there for doing that. I reported the facts. I even changed the names, but I reported the facts that were happening, the situations, without saying wrong or right. I was just telling the event per se. In the second book, it was a little bit different, but in the second book, nobody can complain because I'm speaking nicely about everybody. I'm saying about what they did, but I'm also saying it's because of this, this, and that. This is how I see it now, so they are forgiven. I understand it. I don't accept the behavior. I don't want them in my life. Would I have my attacker over for dinner? I think not. But, you know, I've forgiven it. I accept he is who he is. He's got his past and everything. I don't want him near me. So,
what would you?
Again,
Sorry.
What was that?
What would you say then to somebody who has a story to tell, and who wants to tell their story and write a book about it, who perhaps is a bit reticent to do so because it might upset, say, the family?
Now, there is a line, okay? My responsibility, other people's responsibility. And that's how we step away from rescuing, right? So I'm doing right by me. If I report my story because I want to help others, because it helps me release, whatever my reasons, right? How they feel about it, that's part of their growth, part of their learning, not my responsibility, their life, their responsibility. They can say, okay, that's Vicky's opinion, different than mine. Then I'm okay because I accept you have an opinion, I have mine. But if I say, how dare she express her opinion, it makes me look bad in the eyes of the world. Then let's behave better. If you don't like to be, you know, whatever. If you don't like your name being put anywhere, be nice. But if not, it's just somebody's opinion. You're still free to write your own book and tell your version. Right? So again, if people get upset, they're getting upset because you're pressing a button that they need to deal with, whether they feel they've done wrong, whether they disagree, but they haven't learned that people can have different opinions. So you're actually simply, by expressing your truth, because it's your truth, it's not a life truth, you are teaching the other person to take responsibility for theirs. And if something hits, every time something hits within us, basically, when we are uncomfortable, the inner self is telling us that there is something within us that we need to heal. We have not yet healed. Because if we're okay with it, nothing jumps up. If you say, Daniela, I hate your necklace, and if I had doubts about it, I would say, oh my God, she doesn't like my necklace, I'm rubbish at buying necklaces, right? I got an issue with my choice of buying, with my confidence, with what I like and I don't like, and I'm people dependent. But if I say, oh, you don't like it, Vicky, what is it you don't like about it? All of a sudden, I'm curious. I just want to know about your perspective because I'm very confident that I like my necklace, right? So if I'm okay with it, if you're saying something and I'm okay with it, it doesn't touch me. So if you write about me and I'm okay with it, then I am on the right path of healing. I'm strong within myself. I accept who I am and I'm happy about who I am. But if you're saying something and it touches me and I'm getting either upset or stressed or angry, that means there is something within me that I need to go and address, because that tells me that actually something, I'm out of alignment. I am worried about somebody else's perspective. And when I know that actually everything that I feel belongs to me, other people's thoughts, words, and actions belong to them. Every word, thought, and action that I feel and I do
Belongs
belongs
to
to me.
you.
That's my
Yeah.
responsibility.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help? So right away, if you want to write, right away.
Sorry, Tishi's off now, Daniela. The carers have come, so
Yes.
good night, Tishi.
Bye, Tishi.
Night, Tishy.
And we'll catch up. Oh my gosh, wow.
We
Was
had
there
a couple of more hands up.
Yeah.
Cecile?
Cecilia.
Hiya. I knew
Hello.
fabulous. I knew you'd be fabulous. I just knew.
You're very kind.
Quick questions then. So, where in Italy do you come from?
The center of Italy, the calf of the boot, Marche region,
Okay.
on the Adriatic side.
Right. Okay. So, with regards to him being given parole after 14 years, why did they do that? Is that something they have to do?
They always had a parole time.
Okay.
Everybody was absolutely shocked. It was only 14 years, considering they got given 5 life sentences. He's only got 14 years without parole. I mean, parole is just a matter of asking whatever, but considering what happened before, because he was in prison from the age of 15 for 10 years and then they released him.
Right. Okay.
You see, so even then there was a condition. Only this time they seem to have learned better that the guy is ill. He cannot be released. But they always seem to attach that there has to be a parole amount of years for behavior, for whatever else that they need to take into consideration. We were just all surprised they were so little.
It just seems so stupid that he's so dangerous that they put it, you give him like 5 life sentences, but actually you can start applying for parole after 14 years.
Yeah, and the guy is so clever. Honest to God, he is so clever. It's incredible. Even when he was in the house, little things like, if he wanted a drink, he would drink and he would make me drink. To cover his tracks all the time. If he touched something, get me to hold it and things like that. Very clever.
Yeah.
Very clever, very sharp. So everything, honestly, is just incredible. So he managed to get himself out the first time around.
Yeah.
Because he turned up all dressed up, all spoken, all, yeah. And he managed to convince a panel of 3 people that he was very healthy and safe to be in society.
And the other thing I just wanted to say is, obviously, it's been absolutely wonderful. One of the things that really touched me was around when you first came to England with your ex-boyfriend, who was then your friend.
Yeah.
That's Remy's story all over.
Yeah.
That is the exact same thing that happened to her, and it kind of I've written down lots of little different things that I need to have a conversation with her about, but yeah, it was that same thing.
Yeah, and they're pretty much the same age as well, at 19.
Yes, exactly the same age. Yes, so that's given me other bits that I can go and share with her as well.
Oh, brilliant.
Yes,
brilliant. Thank you.
I'm done. That's me.
Thank you
There
so
was
much.
somebody else. Yes, Sheila.
Thank you, Daniela. I know we've not met before, but I know we share a mutual friend who's online today as well.
Yeah.
I do feel like I've known you a long, long time, even though we've never actually met.
Yeah, likewise. I heard a lot about you.
What I really wanted to say, and I'm sure I'm echoing what everyone else is thinking on here, is just how incredible you actually are. And secondly,
you see how comfortable
you need to accept that, Daniela, and not do that. You need
exactly. You need to accept it. And secondly, at what point in your life, on your journey, your incredible journey, did you discover that you were actually so resilient?
You know what? It's taken me a while. I dare say that I actually started acknowledging my strengths only over the past 10 years, if that, because before it was just, well, you do that. Possibly even the past 5 years, you know, that started really realizing the power. Because before that, this is what you do. Yeah, you know, it's just nothing. I didn't realize. It's like almost like one of the things that you get so many gems from your path all the time. They get revealed to you as the path goes on. And sometimes, although you see the answers, the penny doesn't actually drop. You know, and it's just incredible. It's almost like, as well, since I've written the books, the revelation through putting the books out there and the people saying something, and then I'm thinking, oh my God, yes, that makes sense. It's like, again, the common friend that we have. When I released the first book, she said to me, you know, Dan, you know, I don't know how, you know, how you stopped screaming, she said, because I would not have stopped screaming. And I thought, yeah, why did I stop screaming? And actually, I stopped screaming because of an event that happened when I was a baby. And that's when I made another connection. And life always gives you the answer, because when I was a baby, my godmother thought I had a big nose. So she used to squish it, right? So I grew up, even when I wash my face, I have to take a big, deep breath, because both mouth and nose needs to be open since that experience, right? And actually, when I was being attacked, the attacker said if I didn't stop screaming, he would gag me. And I thought, oh my God, I can't do that. I can't breathe through my nose. I'm going to die. So I had to stop screaming and find a different way out. Otherwise, he would have killed me. If I carried on screaming, he would have killed me. So that experience when I was a baby saved my life 26 years later when I was being attacked. So, and I realized when my friend, you know, a common friend, actually passed a comment when I released the book, the first book 3 years ago. And then I made the connection. Life always gives us the answers, and we get those gems. Another thing was like when, after the attack, a lot of people wrote to me, wrote to the newspaper, and they then brought me all the letters, cards, and things like that. And there was a family from France, which offered me it was an English family. They went to live in France, and they read in the newspaper what had happened, and they said, you know, that I always had a home if I wanted to go on holiday or anything like that, if I needed to escape. So they were very kind, but they also praised my parents for raising such a strong woman. And I remember not being happy about that. I was not happy, because I'm thinking, there, you're taking my power away. Now you're giving my escape with my life. You're actually saying that my parents blimmin' did that. I was furious. It's only with time that I realized, actually, they were absolutely right. Because I needed my parents to give me and behave the way that they did in order for me to build the strength to become resilient, to feel alone, to learn to self-rely in order to fight one of those biggest battles in my life. So they were spot on.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I didn't actually come into understanding the power until the latter part of my life, the power that I held over me in my life, and the strength and resilience, which I'm grateful for every day.
Absolutely. You're incredible. You really are.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Is there anybody else at all? No?
I was just going to say, from the discussions that we've had throughout this week, putting this all together, Daniela, you have done really, really, really well. We kept trying to tell you, oh, you'll be in it and you'll be fine. But yeah, you have done fantastic tonight.
Thank you. As you know, I'm like in front of people. So thank you. But yes, it's just, I'm just like so grateful, so grateful. You have no idea, to actually, the people have actually wanted to come and listen to me. I'm just like gobsmacked.
think the
You
highest
know?
number we had in here was 30.
Oh wow, see?
So you've had some that were at the beginning, some that were at the end, and there was a crossover in the middle, and it was 30. So you've had
Yeah.
about 35, 38
Yeah, because I
different
think people
people.
said,
Yeah.
yeah, people said they could come certain times or whatever because of family, young children, or, you know, different situations. So they said they would jump on at certain parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have done absolutely amazing. You really have. We're going to share again, Shell. I know you've already shared, but obviously that might have been earlier up in the evening, the domestic violence helpline. If anybody is in urgent need, you know the number to call is 999. Okay, don't hold back. I think Shelley's got some local numbers. We are joined by. Hello,
Hi,
darling.
baby.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm doing a bit.
Are you okay?
Yeah, a bit better. I'm
Still not 100%.
But it's okay.
Yeah, no problem. It's very important that you take care of yourself. Okay, we have NHS workers, these two here, guys, Cecile and her daughter Remy, that are NHS workers also as well. I'm sure we've got a few others that are frontline workers that are doing an awful lot of work right now. I'm as much as sort of like I host various different things, I am overwhelmed.
And it's not coming up tomorrow. What the fuck?
When you because obviously, you know, you're talking and sitting back and other people are asking questions and you're just kind of just absorbing that information. It's, yeah, it's absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
Absolutely incredible. The fact that you're still here, in all honesty.
Yeah, I'm persistent, me.
Yeah. And then what you are now, from everything that you've been through, now giving so much more than you will ever know. So much more than you will ever know. It's important for us to, whilst we're on, because obviously people are disappearing at different times, 2 books. You're an author. 2 books. Let us know the title of the books. Let us know where we can get the books, please.
Okay. The first one is the story of my life. Where's the camera there? I don't even know you see me in technology. A Reason to Love Me. That's the story of my life, with lots of details, laughters as well as tears. It's on Amazon. You can get it directly from me. I can always send it off. But it's on Amazon. Is in Waterstone as well. And the latest one is A Reason to Love Them, Breaking the Chains of Trauma. Again, it's working on perspectives, changing the way we look at things in order to forgive and free ourselves from the pain, from the attachment to events that no longer are, because life is for living, because life is now and it belongs to us. So that one, again, you can get it from Amazon. Both books are Kindle version as well as paper copy. And I have loads of books here as well, which I have ordered because I was going to do the face-to-face event. So I can always send you off. But, you know, yeah, whichever. I am available if anybody, obviously, as you know, I'm my first job before being an author. I am a counsellor. And if anybody needs any help and has more questions, especially on what is going on tonight, get in touch with me. I am on Facebook. Private message me. I don't know, Shelley, if we can put the details on later on my business cards, whatever, because my phone number will be there. So if anybody wants to contact me for any reason or wants to go on Messenger, please, 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 I'm here. Yeah. Take the power back.
Yeah, there's lots of people messaging right now. They're all messaging various messages online. Do you want to just tell us, just very briefly, Daniela, about Faces, which is a charity that you were?
Yes, Faces is a local charity, Bedford charity, and it supports families in difficulties. And even through this lockdown, they still try to do the very best they can to actually support local families in every way. They've actually they won the Queen's Award as well for charities. They do an incredible job. They got volunteers going to people's home to release people, you know, without with children, with whatever is needed. They hold groups. Even there is also, they had a group going as well with people that, again, domestic violence situation, you know, abuse situations and things like that. So that they are an asset to our local community. So yeah, shout out to them.
Yep, and we will share that information also. And their Faces, they're called Faces, which is literally FACES, and they are based in Bedford.
Yeah,
so I don't know where sort of like everybody who's online, is everybody sort of like in the UK here, or?
Yeah. I think so, from what I can see on the screen at the moment it is.
They are. Excellent, excellent. We're going to come to an end now. Leisha, is she still there?
She's still there. I don't know whether she wants to talk or not. She's got herself on mute herself.
Okay, no problem. Shelley, did you want to say something? Because I'm going to...
No, I've just put links in on the group chat if you want to copy them out now. You'd have the national helplines on there. There is the Faces group bit on there. There's the Amazon links to both books. There's the Faces links, and there's a load of links for those that are in Bedfordshire. If you live in different areas, I've got Hertfordshire links. Or there's a little bit on the bottom of when I put everything on there, the Ollie Foundation .org, that's got links to helplines to do with anything, so domestic abuse, if it's then to do with like childcare, or if it's to do with addictions or anything, it's got lots of different helplines on there. It is a website for suicide awareness, but they've got all the links as a signposting service for anything else that you might need. So copy all those links out on the chat now if you want.
Shelley, you'll be happy to know that I actually managed to open the chat.
Woohoo!
I can actually see things on it. I would touch anything else. So yes. And yeah, to add to that, as I said, you guys can always find me on Facebook for message me or anything on it. And I will be available for any other questions you might have. Have I lost Dee? Oh no, she's there. She's muted.
I think she muted herself.
Oh.
Do you want me to unmute you, love? She gone and broke.
There we
There you
go.
go. I've unmuted you.
Is Stuart still there, Daniela?
Yes, he is.
Can we get Stuart on?
Yeah, she said what she wants. Come in here. Yeah, because he's coming here, because otherwise he's right. There's an echo if he puts his phone on as well.
Don't worry. This young man, guys, is Stuart. This is Daniela's husband. So we need to give him a massive round of applause.
She gave a round of applause. But see that.
So, Stuart, in the space of, I don't know, probably maybe a week and a half, this has all kind of come together, hasn't it, really?
It has, yeah. Big learning curve, but all worth it in the end.
I think maybe because of, I don't know where you're coming from, the sound isn't, I didn't quite hear you.
Oh, right. So, yeah, it's been a big learning curve, but we've managed it in the end. It's been a good result.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So how is, don't worry about her being there, because we'll tell her off if she does anything to you.
Is that a slap?
I'm sure you know, you've obviously heard and would know sort of like how Daniela's sort of like shared her journey, her story. It's not just obviously to us privately, it's literally out there, obviously, because she's online globally to the world. How do you feel? As in, like, I suppose, I don't know, I'm asking, every time she shares it, does it impact you? How proud are you? I don't know, how do you feel? If it's okay to ask.
Yeah, fine to ask, yeah.
Whether you get an answer or not is a different matter.
Well, again, this has been a long journey from the day I met Daniela. The things that I've come out over the years. It's just been an incredible experience. And every time I hear her sharing with others her experiences, it just reminds me of, it puts things in perspective, really. Those things I moan about every day, those things I whinge and complain about every day,
yep,
seem incredibly insignificant in the great scheme of things.
Yes.
So every time I hear her sharing with others, and obviously I've got the privilege of finding out that, you know, obviously clients booking sessions with Daniela, people buying books, people booking to go and see her at the WIs, and I'm just the taxi driver. I just drop her off. There's a bundle of nerves going in, and she's on the crest of a wave coming out.
Yeah.
And she panics about every single public appearance. In my opinion, she smashes it, comes out, and she grows an inch every time she does this. When I met her, she was 4'2". Who knows how tall she'll be by the end of the year. But no, I feel very privileged. I get to witness the development and the growth, because the strength that it takes to actually, one, survive, two, grow and develop from it, and then three, to actually share it with other people, to hopefully offer either, whether it be comfort, advice, support, direction. I just think it's incredible, absolutely incredible.
Spot on. Thank you so much, Stuart.
Can I go now?
I'll pay him later.
Thank you so much, Stuart. Thank you. Guys, I don't know what time it is. Remy, do you want to ask anything? I know you've just jumped on. Do you want to say anything at all, darling?
Me?
Remy.
Oh, she's muted.
Oh, me? Am I?
No,
not you, Dee.
Oh.
Cecile's on Dee.
I was listening from the other room.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just over there, so I was listening the whole time. And it is weird, isn't it? That it's like similar ages. It must be like a thing. Like, you're quite vulnerable at that age. You're like learning new things and becoming an adult, like a proper adult. And someone can just so easily take over your whole life in a second. It like, without even realizing it, it's like the manipulation and stuff.
Yes, you see, for me, that's what I was actually, I've written about as well, because it's almost like because we have to learn, we're all here, we're all students and teachers at the same time. Every encounter, even with a stranger, at the moment you cross paths, we are students and teachers if there is an exchange. So if we have certain people that come into our lives, we are teaching them something, and they are teaching us something. They're teaching us loads of things like resilience, how that we matter, to build self-esteem, that nothing is insurmountable, or loads of gems, right? But we also teach them when we walk away or when we stand up for ourselves and we find a voice, that how they treat people is not the way. It doesn't get them anything. It leaves them. So they too will learn the lesson even when they're ready. Like we might have to go through a few relationships that don't serve us until we learn even when we're ready. Like in my case, it took me a while. You know, again, as I said, hard of hearing. But yeah, it's, you know, is that we are learning, and at that age, that's when we form relationships, that's when we leave home, that's when we then start branching out ourselves, and depends on our character, the vulnerability and the sensitivity that we might own could cause for a bigger lessons than others, but also depends, I really believe, on our life path, on the purpose that we are here to express. Because you, like myself, you're already doing it, you know, you're already using it to help others.
I'm trying my best.
You are.
See?
You
So
know that.
you are again another light that's been unleashed through that experience to be able to help others. So the quicker, the younger, the quicker we can spread the light out to help more and more people.
Yeah.
Because although there is so much news all the time, okay, at the moment it's with the COVID, but in general there's always so much bad news about the bad things that happen in the world. There is a lot of good things going on as well. They don't get talked about, and that's the light that you, me, and every person in here, and a lot of other people bring.
That is fab. On that note, guys, I don't know what the time is. We will need to end, because otherwise we could go on all night. We could go all night.
10. You done
kidding?
it again. Yeah.
You didn't hear that, did you? Okay, so guys, honestly, thank you all so very, very, very much. Honestly, for everybody that's online that's joined tonight, thank you all so very much indeed.
Thank you.
Contribution has been
Playing the last track.
Yeah, just as I sort of like finish out. So in terms of guys, let's give it up for the lovely Daniela.
Thank you for taking your time tonight to join me. Thank you.
There's something else. Couldn't have done this tonight without our fabulous producer, which is the lovely Shelley, who's been in the admin, doing all the posts, letting you know what's going on. So thank you, honestly, thank you so much, Shelley. Can't happen without her, can't happen without her. So I'm Dee Bailey, Simply Dee's Events, and this is what we do. And this has been an intimate evening with Daniela Bumper Cowie.